he going to be the one who will fix the demolition? I'm talking literally, like fix the demolition of the east wing of the White House that Trump will leave behind because the judge told him he can't go forward with it.
Yeah. No, he's gonna want it. He's gonna want it.
I'm live.
Okay, I'm knocking right now. No, he's gonna want the ballroom. Like Tucker's got to throw the parties for his billionaire friends too.
Yeah, but if Trump can't do it, why would he be able to do it?
Dude, by the time Trump leaves office, the institutions are gonna be so broken, and Tucker Carlson's just gonna walk right in as a fucking dictator. Like, you think there's gonna be a judicial? Yeah, there will be no opposition to Tucker. You understand? There will be no opposition to Tucker Carlson. He will have free reign to do whatever he wants to do.
Maybe I have to stop being so resistant and actually look at what he's saying so that I can better argue against it and be more prepared to be like, this is not the guy.
Listen, argue against me for the delusion that you're wrong and we're not gonna get Tucker Carlson, or argue against no, this is why we don't deserve Tucker Carlson, or we not deserves the wrong word, but this is why we shouldn't.
This is because I hit him, MGT, all these oh, they're seeing the light. No, you're stupid. Absolutely not. There's no fucking way.
Have you seen it? Have you talked to anybody that said that?
No, not in real life, but
okay, but have you seen it online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, especially with Tucker,
yeah.
Well,
he's changing his tone.
I saw something the other day that said that Marjorie Taylor Greene was becoming a Democrat, but I don't think that's true.
No.
I've seen the amount of disinformation these past couple weeks, on especially Instagram. I mean, Twitter, I'm a little more prepared for it anyway, but on Instagram, it's just I feel like I can't all of these posts are just fake.
Yes, but they're shifting.
And not just because yesterday was April Fool's Day. I know that. I was aware that yesterday would have been a little different, but
yeah. No. All these people are shifting, and they're starting classic Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? And then Tucker's doing it too. Candace has been doing it. They're reading the polls and they're seeing which way the winds are shifting. This is why Pam Bondi got fired. This is why Chrissy Noem's gone. This is why Kash Patel will most likely be gone soon. Caroline Leavitt, I think, is safe because she's like the shield, right? She's not
the nature of what her job is.
Yeah, just because the nature of what her job is. So she's like a blunt object that he uses, where all the other ones are more sharp swords, and when sharp swords don't fucking stab anything or cut anything, they're just well, you're not a fucking
You're really whipping out the analogies lately.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it is, though. Right? The shields, at least you could fucking oh, okay, I could just use myself to block with it. You know what I mean? It's your last resort. So I don't think Caroline's leaving anytime soon. I think Kash will definitely go. Dude, fucking Brown, he's not liked at all. Fucking Vivek was gone instantly. The only reason Kash stayed around for so long because you wrote a fucking how to suck Trump's dick book. You know what I mean? It's just what he it's what he did. But he's
just gonna go through all the women and be like, all right, well, they're gone.
Then for the brown guys,
all the men of color.
It's I think the only one that'll probably be safe is Linda McMahon. Yeah, she stays out of the way.
I forget about her. Yeah,
she stays out of the way. She doesn't really do much. It's the job.
She comes with more money behind her than the rest
exactly.
of them,
Exactly.
She's gonna
Plus,
be
they've been friends for a long time, and he loves WWE. Trump loves WWE. There's a thing. Did you see this Easter speech he gave where he's like, I don't care if they're nice to me, no matter how bad they are, I love them. You know what I mean? So it's that thinking. Whatever he likes, he just likes. He's like a child. It's a child. He doesn't care where it comes from as long as it's just he likes it. Yo. Reckon. What's up? What's going
Hey,
on? What's
hey.
going on? Hello. Welcome. We should probably start. Well, we already wasted time, which we said we wouldn't do because we have a long video to watch today. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about Cuba and what we don't understand, which a lot of I don't understand. I know from I pretty much have a little bit more knowledge than what we've been taught in the history books of like trains, right. Cairo, he should be around. He's been asking me when we're doing the podcast, like, but then he doesn't fucking show up, dickhead.
Wow. Right,
Uh,
sometimes we
so
do it on regular time and place. I guess we have
yeah,
probably been confusing lately.
yeah. Well, no, I was just sick. Like, there's nothing else I could do.
I meant to message the group, but then I just dropped the ball. Just,
Oh, like our Discord thing.
yeah, last week.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Cuba and understand the history of Cuba and like what we're doing to Cuba. Good thing is they have had a shipment of oil. Not a lot, not enough,
Yes.
but only like 10% of what they really need.
Yeah, I saw
So
that
a
it's
shipment
only
of oil.
supposed to be about a month's supply.
Yes. But I think more might be on the way. I have heard.
I saw that too. Russia should be sending a second one, I guess.
Yes, and then Trump's gonna allow it. He loves Putin. Like he really loves Putin. So he's just gonna allow it to go forward. Even though like Marco Rubio is just sitting there like just like I ate ass face
No,
because like fuck,
don't do
I wanted
it.
I
Yeah.
wanted to rule Cuba again. I wanted my slaves again. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah. So I think he's gonna allow it to go through. Which is good. Good for the people of Cuba. I really want to I want to go to Cuba because tourism, and I just learned this recently. Tourism is really one of their biggest economic drivers
Yeah.
for them. And you could travel to Cuba the entire time. You could literally been traveling to Cuba the entire time. So
I was
I
looking it
think
up a little bit today, and obviously, it's probably because right now would not be a good time to go, but
yeah.
tickets were like $500.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
No, not bad at all. And then like, but the issues is like how you have to apply for a certain visa. They have to approve you and
Well,
like
yeah, I'm
all that
sure
stuff.
in the
It's
end,
tough.
yeah, it's probably not easy.
Yeah, because you can't use credit cards. Apparently, you have to do like money orders to pay for it
Hmm.
for the visa, which is insane. Like
Okay.
in the big
Interesting.
2026, like
Yeah, I
you
didn't know
have
that.
to use a money order instead of just going online and just clicking a fucking credit card, like which is
Right.
insane.
And then I'm just
Uh,
gonna watch like every little thing. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm interested in this video. Cuba has been like I didn't really know much about it at all,
Mhm.
and just what I've learned a little bit has been interesting.
Yeah.
Particularly like the health system. Like
Yeah, it's great.
it's hugely impacted now, but I also saw that like when it's
Y- y-
typically functioning,
Yeah.
there's a family doctor for every like 100 families. Like,
Yes.
can you imagine?
Yeah. Do you know they have an Alzheimer's vaccine? Did you know that?
I think you mentioned that here before.
Yeah. They literally have an Alzheimer's vaccine and a lung cancer vaccine, which we cannot take because it is illegal for them to sell it.
Yeah, that's insane.
Isn't that insane?
We're gonna do this to the point where we're dying of cancer, like, and
And they have
Alzheimer's.
it.
Like, this is so like this feud is so important to us.
Yes, for no fucking reason. And this is
Like
one
it's
of
not that important to me. I don't care.
yeah, like I don't. And again, 90% of this is on the foot of the American empire and Donald Trump, specifically right now because since December, they have really ramped it up where they've allowed nothing to go forward. Um, but Obama did try to change this. Obama did try to lift the sanctions and to create open. You remember how like Kim Kardashian went to Cuba? Like that was all right
Yeah.
after. That was all right after Obama. Took some of it away. But like I think a lot of that embargo is enshrined in our constitution, so it's not exactly the easiest. But this is stupid on Biden's part too, because he could have. So Obama opened up Havana, and then Trump came in, shut it back down, and then Biden didn't
Right.
do anything about it, which is so fucking dumb, which is so fucking stupid. He should have done. This is
Classic.
one of Biden's biggest failures, because it's a fucking Zionist. Like it all ties back to like it's kind of stupid sometimes, like how much shit we talk about, and then we all go like, well, it's because of fucking the Zionist entity, and but it's true. It's like true how much of that ruins what we fucking like want to, all the good things we want to have, and we can't because it's fucking entity. Like it's just that. It's literally just that. Anyways, welcome to Thursday, to all the factors. You're joining us, and we're gonna learn about Cuba. Let's just take it away.
A small island nation less than 100 miles off the coast of the mainland USA with quite the reputation. A lot is said about this country, and the opinions held about it vary massively. If you listen to those sympathetic to the revolutionary history of Cuba, you'll be told the story of a selfless island nation off the coast of the world's most violent empire that, despite its struggles, which are almost entirely the result of economic warfare waged against it by the United States, gives whatever it can to those in need. Whether that be military assistance to those fighting white supremacists in southern Africa, offering medical aid to others, or even dramatically improving the quality of life domestically relative to the inequality and torture overseen on the island by the previous US-backed dictatorship. But who cares what this guy thinks? I mean, who even is that? These guys are the ones who know what they're talking about.
Cuba is the epicenter, is the headquarters of evil in the Western Hemisphere.
Socialist dictator who murdered all dissidents.
What could you possibly say that's positive about a man like Fidel Castro?
We are sitting in a dangerous predicament.
He actually created a giant gulag and sentenced everybody in the country to stay in it.
Wait, what? No, within just 2 years of the revolution, 200,000 Cubans emigrated, and over 500,000 left during its first decade. And Cuba went on to experience levels of immigration comparable to those of its neighboring countries in the late 20th century. While Cubans did need exit paperwork, and this process was often a bureaucratic mess, one of the main bottlenecks was often the receiving country, especially the US, which restricted legal visas while rewarding undocumented arrivals, seemingly encouraging the kind of dramatic spectacles that could be used for propaganda. And Fidel Castro himself declared the revolution strictly voluntary, and he even facilitated periodic mass exoduses, later agreeing to a US proposed airlift when dangerous sea departures became common. God damn it, Ben, you make it so hard for me to make a funny little montage when I have to pause and refute your bullshit. It's such a buzzkill.
We are on the edge of war and have been for some time.
He exiled all religious figures.
No, he didn't.
100 years from now, historians are going to look at Fidel Castro and say, guys, this guy was able to supersede Lenin and Stalin.
Under Batista, Cuba was one of the richest countries in Latin America.
Fidel was a genius.
That's a
evil. And
fucking congressperson,
they're
dude.
ending
Like that's a congressperson, dude. Who the fuck are we stalling? Who are we stalling?
Not letting installing.
Where's this Lenin? Where's the cloth? Oh my god. Oh,
Yikes.
this might interest you, or it might not. They recently have been doing a lot of X-ray scans and studies of the fabric of the Shroud of Turin.
Okay.
They found out it's apparently from India.
Okay.
Like
So
4,000 years ago.
Okay.
It's
I don't know.
apparently
I
from
know
India.
nothing. What's the Shroud of Turin? Is that like Jesus? Supposedly Jesus's cloth. Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
one he was wrapped in after death. Yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly it's from India. They found like bacterial DNA that is bacterial DNA or some sort of DNA. I don't know if it's bacterial, but it might be grain DNA or something like that. That was only
Okay.
available in India. So
Okay.
it
Interesting.
might not actually belong to Jesus apparently. So there's a
Yeah,
possibility
like-
that it's somewhere
Wow.
from India.
That.
Yeah.
Well, that just. And they haven't
People have
noticed this before. Like, haven't they done tons of studies on
It's
this?
very old.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah,
very old, and it's like
Yeah.
finding a DNA on it. Like
Sure.
you know, they have to be really careful about like where they're studying
Okay.
for it. Or I guess I'm assuming. I didn't.
Is it
I read a little bit on it. I didn't know
I
too
don't
much.
know. I don't know enough about it to be like, oh, is this going to send Christians up in arms, or is it just?
I don't think so.
Because I don't know if
think
it's
so.
something. I feel like it's disputed if people actually even believe in it. Obviously, because like
Yeah.
you know, How who knows, right?
Who knows? But yeah, I don't know how big.
Also,
well,
the
that's why I wanted
story
to-
is like mythological. You know, anyway,
Right,
not to be that would get us
Not that,
not to get canceled,
right.
but on this,
Fine.
you know, Easter weekend, I start speaking blasphemy.
Blasphemy, yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, don't tell your family. Isn't your family like somebody in your family like Christian, super Christian?
No, my mom's family is Catholic, but Catholics aren't like most
Weird, they're
Catholics
weird.
aren't really.
Yeah,
They're not really super Christian in the way that non-Catholic Christians can be super Christian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
It's
Protestants
different.
are like fucking ultra, yeah, or like the Orthodox and shit like that. They're like up there. Yeah, they go like crazy, right? What are the ones that like whip themselves Opus Dei? Yeah, they're fucking nutty. Yeah, I
Did
should
I tell you that there's a guy in my town who carries like a giant cross on his back up and down the whole town all day? Did I never tell you? I want to talk to him and see.
I was actually seriously considering like looking in Somers for like no more.
No, not in Summers. Here.
Oh, here. Oh,
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, Summers is fine as far as
I'm
I know.
good.
I
I'm
don't
good.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see what he's repenting for. Like what did you do? Because he must have done something pretty bad to feel the need to do that.
How heavy is the cross? Is it like an actual cross?
Well, it is on wheels, but yeah, it's like man-sized cross. Like it's bigger than he is.
But if it's on wheels, then you're not doing it correctly. Like then
No,
you're
I
just
know,
faking
I
it.
know, he is cheating a little
Like
bit.
you're
but
cheating.
it's
Like you're
it still looks heavy.
that sums up Christians perfectly. Like it's just like that sums up Christians perfectly.
I
Like,
know you
I'm giving you the illusion that I'm repenting. Not really, though, because it's on fucking wheels. Like he takes breaks. I'm assuming. Like, yeah. That's insane. But anyways, spoke of Lenin, Stalin,
Lenin.
so I figured like let's throw a little bit of tidbit at your way. Yeah.
Their days are numbered.
Che Guevara said, there's a direct quote from Che, this piece of crap who you see people walking around with his face on t-shirts. It's like walking around, again, with the Stalin t-shirt. Since to send men to the firing squad, judicial proof is unnecessary, is what Che Guevara said. These procedures are an archaic, bourgeois detail. This is a revolution. And a revolutionary must become a cold killing machine motivated by pure hate. We must create a pedagogy of the paradigm. That's the execution law.
This is a fabrication. Che never said this. It's attributed to Che, but in reality,
This is the actual quote? To send men to the firing squad, judicial proof is no, that is what he just read. Sorry.
it's the result of splicing together a bunch of random shit to form a blurb he never said nor wrote. In fact, this Frankenstein of a quote is contradicted by the historical record and does not represent Che's actions. For example, he never said judicial proof is unnecessary. In reality, he explicitly warned his judges to be scrupulous about weighing the evidence in each case so as not to give the revolution's enemies additional ammunition, wrote the foremost biographer on Guevara, John Lee Anderson. And the judge who gathered evidence and sat on the appellate bench with Che stated that we gave each case due and fair consideration and we didn't come to our decisions lightly. So again, Ben is lying. There is no primary source to substantiate the claim that this quote was said or written by Che. It doesn't exist, and Che's actions contradict it. Are you going to let me do my montage now, dude?
Che Guevara worse than Castro.
So you're saying Ben lied?
Not the Crowder.
Imagine.
Guy who almost beat his wife while she was pregnant and was cheating on dudes with her. Not Crowder. We have to listen to that guy. Okay.
This is that guy.
Oh, this is that guy. Yeah, I'm sure you see
Awesome.
the video of him. Like the wife is like wants a divorce and he won't give it to her because like she's like, well, you keep going out there and like cheating on me with other guys. Like what's going on? And,
With other guys.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I did see that video.
Obviously wasn't an official dictator, but what he wanted. Picture Adolf Hitler, who's bad, without the, some would call it charm.
He asked the Soviet Union to actually nuke the United
So
States.
Hitler had
Che Guevara
charm.
was less charming than Adolf Hitler.
Mass murdering dictator.
For all of my criticisms of Adolf Hitler, he was punctual.
Summary executions.
My
Again,
boy's
tens of
smoking a
thousands of people
fucking
murdered.
fat-ass Cuban, brother.
Cuban Americans from Miami.
But in all seriousness, if you live in the West, odds are you've been raised to think the worst about Cuba. From stories of an evil dictator, Fidel Castro, seizing power against the wishes of the population, then stealing everything for himself and plunging what was once a rich and prosperous country into ruin, to tales about the supposedly racist and homophobic revolutionary doctor Che Guevara, who apparently gave up on his Hippocratic oath and decided to Michael Myers his way across the island for no good reason.
Did you know that Che Guevara, was he the Cuban guy?
Well,
Or was that Castro?
Castro was Cuban. Che, he was part of the Cuban Revolution. He wasn't Cuban himself.
Yeah, Che, the revolutionary. He once executed a 12-year-old for being too anti-revolutionary. Shot him in the face, bro.
Yeah, no, he didn't do that. This is what happens when you get all of your news from either Reddit or ChatGPT. You've surely heard about the poverty and the economic hardships in Cuba, which are supposedly solely the result of godless communist economics and not the blockade levied against Cuba by the United States, one that has been nearly unanimously condemned by the United Nations, with the predictable, consistent exceptions of the Yankees and Israel, though that list has grown in recent years to include other loyal dogs of U.S. imperialism like Javier Milei's Argentina. The point I'm trying to make here is not that Cuba is some perfect paradise. It isn't. It's far from it, and people are suffering. It's true that I myself fall into the camp of Cuba sympathizers, but my goal with this video isn't to sell you the idea that Cuba is a utopia. It's to fill you in on an alternative perspective that gets relentlessly demonized in the West, to maybe challenge some of your preconceptions about the island, and to show you how the real history of Cuba is one of anti-colonial struggle against the world's most brutal empires, and then decades of punishment for successfully throwing off the yoke of imperialism. If I can't get you to change your mind about the country, at the very least, this video will exist to show you who exactly you've been told to despise. You can decide for yourself whether the aggression toward Cuba is warranted, whether it deserves the designation in the United States as a so-called state sponsor of terrorism, or whether the country's economic issues are the result of economic illiteracy or a cruel and frankly genocidal blockade. In the spirit of full transparency, this video will start with the Spanish colonization of Cuba, then move into the period when the United States took over the exploitation, before getting into Fidel Castro's revolution and the relentless sabotage waged against the country by the US. Along the way, I'll be refuting the usual anti-Cuba tropes as they come up. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Exter. We talk a lot on this channel about valuing things that are built to last as opposed to designed for obsolescence, and Exter actually puts that into practice by making gear for the hunter-gatherer lifestyles. In 1492, the infamous colonizer Christopher Columbus came in contact with and reported on the existence of a beautiful island we now know as Cuba. It wasn't actually Columbus who launched the conquest of Cuba, and it wouldn't be for another 19 years until somebody did. And that someone was a Spanish conquistador by the name of Diego de Velázquez, who invaded and started the Spanish colonization of the island in 1511. Prior to his conquest, Cuba was inhabited by multiple groups indigenous to the Americas. The earliest to arrive on the island were the Guanahatabes, migrants from the forests of northern South America who lived hunter-gatherer lifestyles. Soon after came the Siboney, and then the Taíno. The Taíno made up the majority of the population by the time of contact with the Spanish, were skilled agriculturalists and very hospitable, according to Spanish accounts. They cultivated yucca root, which they baked into cassava bread, grew cotton, tobacco, and lived in houses known as bohíos, structures designed so efficiently that Spanish settlers were quick to copy them, and which remain a feature of Cuban architecture today. In fact, the very name Cuba comes from the Taíno language. Now, the reason I'm telling you all of this is to weed out the presumptions that many Westerners hold about indigenous societies and the perceived superiority of the European way of life. The truth is, fruitful, ingenious, and rich indigenous cultures have existed all over the world prior to European settler colonialism, and unfortunately, many of us will never know about them. The arrogance of the colonizer is such that replacing a rich indigenous culture with a system of colonial looting and slavery is somehow branded as an improvement, and in some cases, portrayed as a great favor done to the colonized peoples. But that isn't true. In Cuba's case, the immense suffering inflicted on the island stands as a direct testament to the ills of colonialism and the post-colonial legacy it left behind. Once the Spanish took over the island, they enacted the encomienda system. As historian Greg Grandin explains in his book, America, America, The encomienda system, in the context of the Americas, refers to a kind of slavery, but indios encomendados, or commended Indians, weren't considered private property or chattel. Rather, they were formerly something like wards, members of an existing village or community who, in exchange for labor, were to receive instruction in Christian doctrine from their overlords, their guardian encomenderos. The encomienda was important, but it was just one of many coerced labor systems. As the indigenous workforce began to deplete due to mistreatment and disease, the Spanish, starting in the 1520s, began bringing over African slaves in large numbers to fill their roles. By the late 1700s, in response to the sugar boom, huge waves of enslaved Africans were brought to Cuba to work on sugar plantations. This sharpened the class contradictions, exacerbated racial stratification, and solidified Cuba as a racial slave state. For those who may be unfamiliar, the Spanish imposed brutal racial hierarchies in their colonies. In Cuba, it looked roughly like this. Peninsulars, white Spaniards born in Spain, were at the top. Below them were Creoles, the descendants of Spanish colonizers born in the Americas. And beneath them were indigenous and African peoples, with free people of color, which Cuba had a relatively large number of, placed above enslaved Africans. While the Spanish originally envisioned their colonies as a binary system of two legally distinct republics, the Republic of Spaniards and the Republic of Indians, as they referred to it, this framework fell apart fairly quickly, especially in Cuba's case, where, largely due to the massive decline of the indigenous population, the mass importation of enslaved Africans, and mixing between all these groups, it devolved into a weird and gross caste system based on blood and lineage, where proximity to blackness placed you lower in the social order. By the mid to late 1800s, the Creoles, the descendants of the Spanish born in Cuba, started to sharpen their nationalist movements and aimed to fight off the Spanish-born peninsulars, who had monopolized power. Much of this movement was largely concerned with maintaining the existing social order, but just swapping the peninsulars at the top with the Creoles, the Cuban-born elites. Even when the 10 Years' War for Independence began in 1868, led by plantation owners who wanted to boot out the Spanish, the movement was conflicted over issues like slavery and maintaining the existing social order. There was, however, a Creole by the name of Jose Marti who despised the racial stratification and sought to unite Cubans of all races in one national liberatory struggle for independence. Marti formed the Cuban Revolutionary Party in 1892 with the goal to unite the fractured independence movements in the country, and by 1895, the final war for Cuban independence from the Spanish began. In just 3 years, the rebels, whom Marti was no longer a part of as he died early in battle, had so badly beaten the Spanish that they were on the verge of collapse. Cuban independence was closer than ever, but the rebels failed to consider one very important thing: the audacity of the United States. See, the U.S. had long coveted the island and wanted to take it over from the Spanish. You can see figures as old as Thomas Jefferson and John Quincy Adams fantasizing about this. The U.S. is also notorious for playing dirty, and its meddling in 1898 stripped the hard-earned victory away from the Cuban rebels. As Grandin recounts the story, white and black Cubans fought side by side, with free people of color and former slaves obtaining the highest military ranks. Black officers commanded ordinary soldiers of lighter skin, marching through the Cuban countryside, taking over plantations, setting cane fields ablaze, and occupying villages and cities. In the years after Marti's death, Spain's army had fallen back, disordered and demoralized. There was little doubt that the insurgents would win. Then, on February 15, 1898, the gunpowder magazines on board the USS Maine exploded, killing most of its crew and sinking the ship, which had been anchored in Havana's harbor. President William McKinley used the explosion, which he blamed on Spain, as a pretext to enter the war, dispatching the U.S. Navy to Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and Cuba.
And that's the president Trump is obsessed with. He's obsessed with McKinley. So of course we're doing this. Oh my God.
Love it.
He literally just copy pasted. He's like, I'm just gonna be McKinley.
He's
I think
so
he would
fucking
pick a more
underrated.
popular president, but I guess, this was the
You must have
Robert Barron
watched
era
them,
and all that, yeah.
you must have watched the documentary somewhere, like something,
He's
like a video,
wow, what a great guy.
like short clip. He's like, this is great. I could do this. He's president. You know who else is president? Me. I'm president. I could do this.
I'll just do that. Yeah.
I'll just do that. He did it.
I can do it too.
Cuba. United States troops easily took Spain's island colonies and, in Cuba, shunted aside the rebel army. A new government, supervised by a military staff that included ex-Confederates like Fitzhugh Lee, Robert E. Lee's nephew, imposed a system of racial segregation roughly based on the model of the post-Reconstruction South. Washington kept Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, but granted nominal independence to Cuba. The United States did insist that the new republic include in its constitution a clause called the Platt Amendment after Connecticut Senator Orville Platt that granted the United States the right to intervene in the nation's affairs at will. So, to summarize, the Cuban War for independence from Spain was fought by Cuban rebels of all different backgrounds, united by a shared goal of long overdue liberation and equality. They did all the heavy lifting and brought the Spanish to the brink of collapse. The US then used an explosion on one of its ships as a pretext to declare war on Spain, took over Cuba and occupied it until 1902, sidelined and disbanded the multiracial independence army, who again did all the work, imposed some white supremacists who installed another system of racial segregation, and added a constitutional amendment stipulating that the US could intervene in Cuba however the fuck it wants at any time. Nice.
Love that.
And the
so at this point, the Spanish are out.
Like that's insane to put it in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's gonna get worse. It gets worse because I didn't even know about that. Like I didn't know about like that. I thought there was like another like I thought there was a separate act that did after the revolution that like enshrined the embargo. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like that's fucking insane. Like, oh yeah, this sovereign land out there somewhere with a different
fuck with it whenever we want. Yeah.
We could just go and shit on them at any time we fucking want to. Like, sure. And fucking Orwell Platt, Connecticut dickhead. Makes sense.
Fuck you, Orwell Platt.
Makes sense. And McKinley.
I don't understand the need for it to be in the Constitution. So does that mean like what was the point? Just like I'm just trying to think it through. Like I guess legislatively, like does that mean the president doesn't need like not that they apparently ever need permission, but can the president just go like, oh yeah, we're fucking with Cuba? Like can anybody? Like is that what that means?
That's pretty much what it means. Like a normal U.S. citizen could just go like, I think I feel like fucking up Cuba this weekend, and
everybody has the right to just.
It's my constitutional right.
I don't think that's actually how that works, but like it's just odd. I don't know.
It's in the Constitution.
Interesting to look into.
It's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
You have the God-given right, according to Pete Hegseth today, that our rights do not come from the Constitution, they come from God. So you have the God-given right to go fuck up Cuba and any Cuban you see fit.
What did I mean, I know Roberts is an asshole, but what did he say during the birthright citizenship hearing? Like, yeah, it's a new world, but same Constitution. Like
oh, I didn't hear that part. I miss a lot of it. Well, I miss a lot of the part where he was talking to John Sauer.
Yeah, Sauer said something like, "Oh, you know, the world's like so different now. Like things need to change." And he's like, "Yeah, it's a new world. The same Constitution's the same, so we have to follow it." You know, that's basically what he was trying to get at.
It's 2026. Doesn't mean you gotta be like, yeah, that clause over there. Yeah, we can just.
I mean, that is a little crazy to say. Like, like that's out of pocket on Sauer. Like, this is your whole. Everybody in this room. The Constitution is the basis of their whole job.
But the thing is, like, another way to think about that is if it's a brave new fucking world, and you in your mind somehow that you could just ignore the Constitution. So let's just ignore the Second Amendment. Let's just knock that out. It's a fucking brave. They didn't fucking think about the. Yeah, they didn't think about fucking, assault rifles that shoot out fucking 800 million bullets a minute. Like, they never thought about that. So, like, just let's just get that out of the fucking way.
Sorry, I dropped my phone on the keyboard.
No, you're good. I think it was around there somewhere, anyways.
See, the US had long coveted the island and wanted to take it over from the Spanish. You can see figures as old as Thomas Jefferson and John Quincy Adams fantasizing about this. The US is also notorious for playing dirty, and its meddling in 18
Are we in
granted
here
nominal
somewhere?
independence to Cuba. The United States did insist that the new republic.
I
We'll
think it was
start
here.
here.
Yeah, I think it was here.
So at this point, the Spanish are
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
and the
right.
new Cuban Constitution of 1901 gives the Yankees the ability to militarily intervene in Cuba whenever they want, control Cuba's foreign and economic policies, and seize land for U.S. naval bases.
Citizen
This
state.
neo-colonial control over Cuba allowed for U.S. corporate interests to get extremely rich at the expense of the vast majority of the island's inhabitants. As Aviva Chomsky puts it in her book on the matter, Cuban politics remained hostage to the United States, while U.S. companies and investors took control of the major sectors of Cuba's economy. By 1905, 60% of Cuba's rural land was owned by U.S. citizens or companies. U.S. investors also controlled 90% of Cuba's tobacco trade, the country's iron, copper, and nickel mines, its railroads, and its electricity and telephone systems. And things only got worse from there. She goes on to elucidate the state of Cuba on the eve of the revolution that brought Castro's government to power. One could say that there were at least two Cubas in the 1950s. One was the 1.5 million who were jobless or who belonged to the rural poor, including landless workers and campesinos with small plots. These impoverished Cubans survived mostly on rice, a few beans, and sugar water, creating the naked children, their swollen stomachs testifying to an unbalanced diet and infection from parasitic worms that sociologist Lowry Nelson found everywhere in rural Cuba in 1950. At the other end of the spectrum, the 900,000 or so wealthiest Cubans controlled 43% of the country's income. These were the people who had money to spend on frequent shopping jaunts to Miami, luxurious air-conditioned homes, and even mausoleums complete with elevators, air conditioners, and telephones to make sure they continued to enjoy a high level of comfort in the afterlife. In between, another 3.5 million struggled to make ends meet. What was it that this little guy was saying again?
Under Batista, Cuba was one of the richest countries in Latin America. It was on the upswing.
All right, dude, sure. Cuba's close integration with the U.S. economy.
Everything's only ever measured by how well, like, the top, like, people who are sucking the life out of everything else.
Capitalism,
Like, how
right.
well they're, I mean, of course, but how well they're doing. It's just like to see it just like over and over again.
Just the 1.5 million people starving and the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of children just dying from malnutrition and parasitic water. Yeah, listen, we still gotta get like the upswing,
But,
man.
You know, like some U.S. companies were making a ton of money off of it, so obviously it was doing well. Yeah.
Right. Like we were getting rich. Come on. Stupid.
Meant that almost everything Cubans bought was imported from the United States, and the cost of living was as high or higher than in the United States. But Cuban wages were much lower, and Cubans had none of the social services and guarantees that U.S. citizens enjoyed. Cuba was forced into an all too familiar position of dependency, where it would export its raw materials just to import manufactured goods from the imperial core that cost more than it made through its exports. Its resources were coveted and appropriated by the U.S. Vast tracts of Cuban land were held in reserve by American
Why would they have a
companies,
revolution?
leaving them
I just don't
idle while
understand.
Cubans remained landless and hungry. Now, in order for the U.S. to maintain this dynamic of subjugating the majority of the Cuban population for the benefit of a slim portion of Cuban elites and U.S. companies, it installed a comprador government in Cuba to remain friendly to U.S. interests. That's where this man, Fulgencio Batista, comes into the story. A little context. In 1933, a nationalist government came into power in Cuba, and among other progressive things, it abrogated the Platt Amendment. Remember that thing that gave the U.S. the ability to do whatever it wanted with Cuba? Well, this was unacceptable to the Americans, who were disgusted at the thought of Cubans manufacturing their own destiny, so U.S. officials began conspiring with the Cuban military officer by the name of Batista. U.S. Ambassador Sumner Welles privately cultivated Batista, suggesting to him that the very great majority of the commercial and financial interests in Cuba who are looking for protection could only find such protection in himself, and that the United States would look approvingly on an overthrow of the revolutionary government. Batista took him up on that offer. He forced the sitting Cuban president to resign, replaced him with a conservative, and in January of 1934, with U.S. support, he began ruling Cuba from behind the scenes as the Army Chief of Staff, propping up various civilian presidents to serve as his face. As Aviva Chomsky summarized, directly or behind the scenes, Batista would remain a power maker until 1959. From 1934 to 44 and 1952 to 59, Batista
looks
was the
terrified.
ultimate authority in Cuba. And that latter reign of his, the one that started in 1952, saw him return to power by force in a coup and establish a brutal US-backed dictatorship, sparking the Cuban Revolution. This is a CIA document comparing the brutality of Fulgencio Batista's regime with the rule of Fidel Castro. It goes on to point out that tens of thousands of individuals were murdered by Batista's regime, that his forces had killed on a whim, and that the anti-Batista...
Oh wait, I thought the revolutionaries did that. I thought, you know, like, are you saying that the U.S. backed would
Dictator?
do such a dictator would do such a thing?
Right. I mean,
Sorry,
we
being
like
so
the School of America is not a
sarcastic
thing.
today.
Like we don't have we didn't train a lot of South American dictators in the art of torture. We didn't do any of that.
Yeah,
We
right.
didn't,
Well, at
we
least
didn't,
we only
didn't
did
do
it
that.
this one time. Yeah.
That one time, right.
The forces in the country had the support of up to 90% of the population by 1958. And crucially, it goes on to write that the large-scale campaigns of murders and terrorism characteristic of the last years of the Batista regime have not occurred during the Castro regime. Even JFK commented in a 1960 speech, Fulgencio Batista murdered 20,000 Cubans in 7 years, a greater proportion of the Cuban population than the proportion of Americans who died in both world wars. The reason I tell you this is to challenge the narrative that many of us are fed about the Cuban Revolution and to show that the vast majority of the population supported Che, Castro, and the rebels, and that the true bloodthirsty tyrant in Cuba was the guy that the Americans propped up. I mean, Batista's ruthless secret police force, the Bureau for the Repression of Communist Activities, was straight up funded and advised by the CIA. To quickly remind you before we go any further, the state of Cuba prior to the revolution was one where the US had essentially transformed it into a playpen for American companies and elites to get rich at the direct expense of the majority of Cubans who were exploited by this setup. As the renowned journalist John Lee Anderson wrote, by the mid-1950s, Cuba was earning a reputation where weekend Americans came to gamble, drink, and carouse with Havana's many prostitutes. A notorious character named Schwartzman ran a theater featuring hardcore blue films and live sex performances, and the American crime syndicates were moving in as well, opening nightclubs and gambling casinos, all at a time where the majority of Cubans were suffering immensely. Now, this segment of the video is not going to be me portraying Cuba as some sort of utopia and acting like everything was smooth sailing the second the rebels took over. It's going to be an honest assessment of Cuba's conditions pre-revolution and how they improved in the years that followed. But first, let's rewind a bit and tell the story of how the revolution came to be. In the wake of Batista's 1952 coup and the subsequent US recognition of his government, a new generation of young activists became directly radicalized. They saw not only their hopes of democracy crushed, but also the US support and co-sign of Batista's tyrannical rule, prioritizing its anti-communist obsession over the well-being of Cubans. One of the individuals radicalized during this time was a young lawyer by the name of Fidel Castro, who, tired of operating
Like, that shit
strictly
looks
through
so
legal means in the
cool,
face of
man.
a dictator
Like,
who couldn't
he's
care less
fucking
about rules and
badass.
laws, began embracing armed struggle as a way to achieve liberation. Forgive me if I'm jumping forward a bit here, but it's worth noting that Fidel Castro was not originally a communist or even all too hostile to the US. He was an economic nationalist who didn't want to see Cuba ripped off and exploited. This was fully understood by US officials who noted that Castro was appointing relatively conservative and even anti-communist figures to his government once he assumed power. But I'm getting ahead of myself. On July 26, 1953, so just a year after Batista came to power in a coup, Castro led roughly 160 rebels in an attack on the Moncada barracks in Santiago de Cuba, hoping to ignite a mass popular uprising. Militarily, it was a mess. The revolt failed, and many of the rebels were captured, tortured, and executed. Fidel and his brother Raul were imprisoned, but Fidel used the trial as a platform. He delivered his now famous "History Will Absolve Me" speech, and he went on to lay out a political platform that would later become the basis of the revolution. He laid out the 5 revolutionary laws that the Moncada attackers intended to implement: restoration and implementation of the 1940 Constitution, an agrarian reform putting land in the hand of those who tilled it, obligation of employers to share profits with workers, guaranteed markets for small sugar farmers, and confiscation of all enterprises obtained through fraud and corruption. All of these revolutionary laws, he
Wow,
emphasized,
such radical
were based on the
views.
constant.
Insane.
That's what I was literally just about to say. That like, are all of these things like? I mean, these are things that I would like to see here. Like, are all these things like that out of control? Like,
Oh my
like
God. Obligation of
confiscation of
employers to share profit.
enterprises obtained through fraud and corruption. Like, no, I
Oh,
love my
no.
fraud and corruption. It's my
What?
favorite. Like,
How dare he?
employers share profits with workers.
Oh my God.
No.
Sharing? That sounds awfully like communism. Oh no. Sharing with workers? What? You mean the people that made that? How could I?
Then how am I
I'm
going
the
to be a
capital owner.
millionaire?
I'm the capital owner. It's my risk. I risked it all. They didn't work.
My risk.
If I didn't risk it, they couldn't have worked.
Sure.
So stupid.
Constitution itself, which restricted large landholdings and provided labor rights, wrote Chomsky.
Labor
Following a public
rights?
amnesty campaign, Fidel
What?
and his
No, you shouldn't have those.
What? You
I'm
mean
like, it
to
just
say?
pisses me off so much.
You mean to say like people that work need rights? Why? They have work. Like just
Yeah.
work.
Just work them to
Like,
death, and then hire somebody else.
Right. Like well, if that doesn't work, we'll just get more slaves. Like it's not that hard.
I mean, as if the worker isn't taking any risk in like the thing. Like if you work for a business that goes under, like you're also like you're fucked too.
Right. you don't have a job now. Oh,
Like-
okay.
Like, yeah, your recovery
We're
might be a little easier, but also probably not because the business person, like, obviously not all, like, obviously I know it's difficult to run a small business in this country, but like a lot of like the bigger businesses where this type of corruption and what's the word? Taking advantage of people, like those people probably have the capital to recover pretty quick from a poor business decision. Like,
Yeah, and like businesses don't go under for like, I mean, yeah, they can obviously clearly go under because of mismanagement for sure, but like it's very hard to mismanage some businesses sometimes. Like they're going under because of like some external bigger issue, like the economy's fucking collapsing. If the economy's fucking
Absolutely.
collapsing, it's the guy on the bottom rung that gets the most shit. Like it always rolls downhill.
yeah, 1000%. I mean, because then you're not going to be able to get a new job that quickly, and in the meantime, you're not going to be able to feed your family. You don't have health care. You know, God forbid
At least
you
the
get
business
sick.
owner has fucking capital. He can sell the fucking building he wants to.
Well, that's it. I mean, yeah, you exit it and you kind of like you pay off your debt, and then you probably have something. You know,
Right.
Like,
Right. And the government always looks out for you. They don't look out for the fucking little guy.
yeah.
How many
It still
people do
takes
you
me
know
so
that
long to ban people, but
Yeah.
they're banned.
how many fucking people do you know that the government has bailed out? I know a ton of businesses that the fucking government has bailed out. I don't know a
I
lot of
don't know
people.
any individuals. Yeah.
Right. Average fucking little guy
Where's Liberty?
working.
He's gonna be like, what do you call Medicaid and food
Okay.
stamps?
What, right. Right. What about unemployment benefits? Like, what about those?
That's a bailout. Yeah. He's gonna
know how those
comment
funded?
because he's watching silently, and he's gonna be like, "Don't talk like that. That's rude. I wouldn't come at you like that. No, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
his brother were released in May 1955 and formally founded the July 26th movement, named in commemoration of their 1953 Moncada attack. They then went into exile in Mexico to regroup and reorganize, where they met new revolutionaries, including the legendary Ernesto Che Guevara, and began solidifying the movement. In November of 1956, 82 rebels crowded onto the yacht Granma and sailed for Cuba. Disaster greeted the landing. Delayed, ambushed, and nearly wiped out, a small handful of survivors managed to retreat into the Sierra Maestra mountain range in southeastern Cuba. From there, the revolution expanded on two fronts, the Sierra and the Llano. The Sierra referred to the war waged by mountain guerrilla fighters, while the Llano referred to the struggle in the cities, where an urban underground initiated strikes, carried out sabotage, and engaged in armed
Is the video
resistance.
stuttering for you as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
It's like an internet thing. Do you want me to back it up a little?
No, it's fine. It was just stuttering on my end, but that's fine.
Okay.
Against the regime. As the rebels waged war from the Sierra Maestra, they began to gain the trust of the peasantry who had been horrifically neglected by the Batista regime and suffered from diseases, poverty, illiteracy, and landlessness. The rebels, by treating these people with respect, treating them medically, and even teaching them to read, created a vital and expansive network for intelligence and new recruits. In April of 1958, the revolutionary movement engaged in a general strike with the hopes that it would topple the dictator, but it failed. This failure actually emboldened Batista and gave him the confidence to launch a massive offensive in the hopes that he could finally crush the insurgency. He sent 10,000 troops with tanks and air support after the rebels in the Sierra Maestra. Amazingly, despite being hugely outnumbered and utilizing inferior weaponry, the rebels, due to their discipline and familiarity with the terrain, defeated Batista's army. The Battle of El Gig in July of 1958 saw an entire army battalion surrender to the rebels and marked the end of Batista's offensive. In late 1958, rebel forces, led by Che Guevara, seized Santa Clara and smashed what was left of the regime. Batista fled on January 1st, 1959, as the rebels entered Havana to enormous popular support, marking a complete triumph of the revolution. As Aviva Chomsky writes in regards to the popularity of the revolution, the Cuban population was overwhelmingly supportive of the new government and its reforms. The only opposition came from close supporters of Batista and members of his military, and property holders whose properties were threatened. As U.S. opposition to Castro cemented, his popularity in Cuba remained strong. U.S. policymakers needed to consider the continued emotional attachment to Fidel Castro as a national symbol by the bulk of the Cuban people, as well as the continued belief by virtually all Cubans in the need for social and economic changes embodied to date only in Castro's revolutionary program.
Fidel Castro ruled his people through what? Through fear.
Did your friend from Miami tell you that?
1 million machete-wielding peasants jammed the square before Cuba's national capital in response to the call of Fidel Castro for a celebration of the 6th anniversary of his 26th of July revolutionary movement. It is perhaps the greatest mass rally ever staged in the Western Hemisphere, a telling demonstration of Castro's sway over the Cuban masses.
Fidel Castro ruled his people through what? Through fear.
With all that said, the story of the Cuban Revolution is one of united struggle against the tyrannical despot. Guerrilla fighters stationed themselves in the mountains, cared for the peasantry by treating them with dignity, teaching them to read and fight, providing medical aid, and awakening class consciousness, while agents in the cities carried out strikes and sabotage in a coordinated effort to topple the regime. It's a story of solidarity, revolutionary struggle, and liberation. The kind of shit you'd expect Americans to find cool, given their own history and romanticization of their revolution. In fact, the Cuban one was way cooler. It was rooted in social reforms, alleviating extreme poverty, and fighting imperialism. The Americans, by contrast, fought the British so that they could keep genociding the natives to the west of the original 13 colonies. But that's another story, and a crude oversimplification, I'll admit. But the point is, when the topic turns to Cuba, those in the upper echelons of Western society refuse to show it any grace or charity, even though its history is one of colonialism, whether Spanish or the US neocolonialism that followed, and revolutionary struggle for liberation. We've grown so accustomed to pointing at Cuba and mocking it for its relative poverty for political points that we fail to see that we're laughing at the way it survives while our countries strangle it, to paraphrase that Castro quote. So for this segment, I'll dedicate some time to highlighting all that Cuba has achieved and all the selflessness it shows to countries in need. I know things are looking bleak in Cuba right now, largely due to the US blockade. I don't think I need to remind you about the negatives when that's all the Western media loves to go on about. Instead, let this video serve as a counterbalance that highlights all that's commendable about post-revolutionary Cuba. Immediately upon taking over, the new Cuban revolutionary government got to work implementing the Moncada program, making good on Castro's platform outlined back during his trial in '53. Cuba at this time was suffering from immense income inequality exacerbated by the years of colonialism, neocolonialism, US-backed dictatorship, and a collaborationist comprador Cuban elite. As we've already seen, those who aim to diminish the results of the Cuban Revolution love to claim that prior to Castro, Cuba was a rich country.
Cuba had in 1958, the year before Castro took over, the highest standard of living of any Latin American country and half of Europe.
However, this is the same old dishonest bullshit said about many pre-revolutionary societies where the riches are funneled straight to the upper echelons while the masses live in squalor. To quote Vijay Prashad and Noam Chomsky on the matter, a study by professors in Havana from 1957 noted the city of Havana is living in an epoch of extraordinary...
Epstein.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Can we find somebody better? I mean, like, I fuck with the guy, like, all the stuff he's done and written.
Didn't he? I thought didn't he eventually apologize or something like that? I don't. No, he didn't. He's standing by. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
I don't know. I don't necessarily standing by it. I think he's just like. I think he's just so fucking old.
Yeah. What is he, like 97? No, but he's like in his 90s, isn't he?
He's gotta be fucking old. Like, he's very, very. I think he's like so like he doesn't even have like. I don't even think he realized like Epstein stuff is happening. You know what I mean? Like, the dude just doesn't have like a computer or shit. Like,
he's just
like,
checked out now.
Yeah. Like, what
like
the fuck?
I did my time.
Like, yeah, like I had my fun, like gross fun, but like whatever, you know. Like, sue me. I feel like that's his thinking now. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to give the excuse of like, well, most.
You can't discredit a lot of his work.
Or to contact with Epstein, but at the same time, it's like. But then we see so many people, or not so many, a solid handful of people who were like, fuck no. Like, that dude's doing bad shit over there. So it's like, it had to have been obvious to an extent, you know?
Oh, no, 100%. Like, he's complicit fully, but, you know.
No, I get
good stuff.
Yeah.
I can't expect everybody
prosperity while.
Right.
I will strangle you with my bare hands. Like, that's. I can't expect that from everybody. I mean, there was Stephen Hawking. Not that I expect anybody to strangle get strangled by Stephen Hawking.
Right. That would be difficult. What was the guy that died recently again? What's his name?
Died recently?
Yeah.
Hawkins?
No. We talked about, or we were gonna talk about him a little bit. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Doesn't matter. Move on.
Kissinger?
No. He's like a Noam Chomsky type, like left. I don't know what you would call that, like anti-capitalist speaker.
Oh yeah, somebody.
Anti-imperialist.
Somebody did die just like that.
I forgot. I'm forgetting his name, but I was just curious if you knew of any like connection with him. But we've gone totally off the rails.
Well, you're right. Somebody did die just recently, just like that. What was his name?
I'm blanking on it.
I'm blanking on it. It'll come to us. Like
it was literally like 2 months ago. Like
yeah.
Maybe even less. It could have been in February. I feel bad.
In the countryside, people, especially the agricultural workers, are living in sluggish, miserable, and desperate conditions too difficult to believe. That is why the new revolution's agrarian reform law was so eagerly anticipated. See, one of the ways the revolutionary government tackled this issue of inequality was by limiting land holdings and redistributing land to the peasantry. Contrary to what you may have heard, Castro did offer compensation for this. These agrarian reforms not only broke up the latifundia, huge estates controlled by a small, typically white elite whose power flowed directly from colonial-era land structures,
that's right.
But also led to the expropriation, again with compensation, and redistribution of the vast arable land hoarded by foreign companies to the detriment of the Cuban masses. To quote Arnold August's Cuba and Its Neighbors, according to a 2008 U.S. Department of Agriculture report, in the late 1950s, U.S. interests owned 75% of the arable land. The end result of these land reforms was the distribution of land to over 100,000 landless farmers who had previously lived in poverty. Aside from the land reforms, Castro's government emphasized the need for human services and more radical change. and they wasted no time getting
So this
going.
is like what you
The
just
Urban
mentioned right here.
Reform
This is
Law of
one of
1960 set rents
one
to
of
no more.
the biggest complaints about by the U.S. government, even to this day, like that they stole U.S. owned land.
Yeah.
And the Cuban government has literally said like, we'll pay you for it, like we'll pay you for what we took back then.
Yeah.
And Trump is like, no, I don't want that. I want you. I want the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And that's so egregious. Like,
Yeah.
you know, to bring them to this point where they're like offering that and then still not take it, you know?
It's
'Cause,
literally their land.
Because I mean, a lot of this that we heard about, like the way people were living under Batista. I read an article just today that was highlighting a family that was going through the exact same thing. They were like, the mom was basically like, I had to send my husband like miles away to get a single bag of rice from like the rations.
Yeah.
Because like that's all messed up right now. And she's basically like, I don't know how I'm like gonna feed the kids, you know, like things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like so it's very similar. So being in this kind of similar situation, and then it's
stupid.
Point being, you know, to not accept even that, like those terms is he's just an ass.
He's just pretty much.
More
and
than
like
10% of a family's income.
and it's not. It's like we have eminent domain, right? Like we have eminent domain here. Like the government can just take any land they fucking want to. Like that's a thing we do here all the time. Like literally all the time we do it. So why can't Cubans do it to the U.S. government? Like what?
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. It's not a foreign concept. The government can take over. Several governments have taken over businesses, land.
Yeah.
From people. It's just it happens.
It happens frequently.
And then I mean, the U.S. I guess. I mean, no, because the U.S. came in and took over initially, so they're not entitled to any compensation for that in my mind.
Right. But they're being nice. They're like, we'll
I
give
guess
you
could argue like, well, these businesses should get compensation or whatever. But like, they're offering it, so that point is moot. Like, why are we fighting still?
Yeah.
Mortgage rates were cut. Landlords were forbidden to evict their tenants, and the owners of urban land were obliged to sell vacant sites at low prices to anyone planning to build a house, wrote historian Richard Gott. Utility rates for electricity, transport, and telephone services were slashed to make them more affordable for the working class. Real wages increased by about 15%, and social services were quickly expanded to include free schooling, healthcare, medicine, water, social security, burial services, and more. In 1961, the government took massive strides to combat illiteracy, and according to historian Paco Ignacio Taibo II, the results were spectacular. 707,000 people had been taught to read and write, and only 3.9% of the population was illiterate after just 2 years of revolution and just one mass campaign. I feel like when it comes to judging the progress made by a developing country, some of us have this tendency to compare it to imperialist Western nations and then mock it for being relatively behind. But that's not exactly fair, is it? These countries don't have centuries of colonial plundering under their belts to thank for their wealth. They were on the receiving end of that brutal structure all this time. Shouldn't we be comparing these countries to A, where they started from, and B, their neighbors? In the case of Cuba, the improvements were astonishing. Take the aforementioned health services as an example.
Did somebody say that?
Me too. Yeah, Prince said it. I wish me fucking too.
Well,
Cuba has a better literacy rate than America today.
Well,
Iran has a better literacy rate than America today. North Korea has a better literacy rate than Gaza has a better literacy rate than America today.
Gaza has a much better,
insanely better.
It's amazing, and I mean he's right, and our illiterate population like will mock people who have been historically plundered.
You literally can't read.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, like I agree with what he's saying, but it's also like they probably have skills that none of us do. You know, like
they
could survive. They at the very least speak more than one language. A lot of them,
if they took me and you on a deserted island and they took somebody from Cuba on a deserted island, like they survive infinitely. We would have no idea what the fuck to do. Can I eat this? It'll be like sand. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what we'd be asking. And it's just exactly. Dirt. Like, what do you fucking mean? Like, technically, they live in the real world. You are sheltered like fuck. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, we don't have the skills to like just live off of what we have. Really, like the land. You know, like I think about that a lot. I'm like, what do I have around me that's like do I have anything edible, like any herbs and stuff like that?
Literally, you take away fucking Whole Foods, the entire population of South Windsor's just gone the next day. Like it's not there anymore.
Just drinking straight ocean water.
Straight up, and then you're like, "Why am I thirsty? I just had some water."
Yeah, like hey, I feel dizzy. Yeah.
Maybe I should have more water.
Prior to the
it sounds like it.
It's fucking
laughing is very triggering for coughs. So.
No, I'm saying like I'll get dizzy from drinking like salt water and
I'll drink more.
Maybe I'll just have more water. Like I possibly can't die of thirst. I'm surrounded by an ocean.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Revolution, things were atrocious. Rural infant and maternal mortality rates were the second highest in Latin America, noted professor of Latin American political economy, Helen Jaffe. So when our annoying little friend over here recites the claim that Cuba's infant mortality rate was actually already low prior to Castro.
Here's the Wall Street Journal. The Cuba that Castro inherited was developing but relatively prosperous and ranked third in Latin America in doctors and dentists and daily calorie consumption per capita. Its infant mortality rate was the lowest in the region.
He's operating on skewed data, where the affluent parts of Cuba mess up the numbers and mask the brutal inequality and suffering in the rural parts. Jaffe goes on to write, some 80% of children in the countryside suffered intestinal parasites in 1959. It was the #1 cause of death, and 60% of the rural population was seriously undernourished. Life expectancy in rural areas was 50 years, 60 nationally. There was only one rural hospital, only 4% of rural Cubans ate meat, only 3% had bread, less than 20% had eggs, only 2% had running water, 9% had electricity, and as Jaffe goes on, the true enemy of public health, a report noted, was economic underdevelopment, feudal exploitation, the latifundia plantation system, and its consequences. Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and the revolutionary government remedied this. They established the rural medical services to provide those suffering in the countryside with aid so that no one was left sick, dying, and forgotten anywhere in the country. A free universal healthcare system was created. Infant mortality dropped to under 10 deaths per 1,000 live births by the 1990s and to under 5 deaths by 2017, a rate lower than that of the much richer United States and 10 times lower than Cuba's closest neighbor, Haiti. This represented a significant improvement over pre-revolutionary Cuba, where infant mortality stood at 60 per 1,000 live births overall and 100 per 1,000 in rural areas.
Right.
Like it doesn't count for Ben Shapiro's metrics. Like, come on, they didn't get rich.
Yeah.
Oh, big fucking whoop! They saved some fucking kids.
Yeah.
But what about the fucking capital, dude?
Who cares about those kids? It's about
fuck them kids, man.
Fuck them kids. It's about the business owners, and by that I mean the big business owners.
What about the plantation owners? Have we thought about them? The slave owning class?
I love how they, in revolutionary Cuba, they took something terrible that they went through and they were like, well, let's expand medical care so that everybody gets it. Like, I wish we could learn and implement a lesson like that.
No. No.
But you
You
know,
have
we're
fucking fucktards like Ben Shapiro chirping in everybody's ear like, facts don't give a fuck about your feelings. Shut the fuck up, Ben.
yeah.
You can't
mean,
get your fucking wife's pussy wet. Like, you never get to talk about anything.
I know you'll never never let that go. It's actually a medical condition.
Right. He needs to go to fucking Cuba and become a doctor, you ass-hard. Stupid.
Not to mention that maternal mortality was 120 deaths per 100,000 births, with only half of all births in the country taking place in hospitals in the 1950s. By the 1990s, 99% of births were taking place in hospitals. Life expectancy has soared from nearly 60 years before the revolution, when there were only around 6,000 physicians, mostly stationed in Havana, to nearly 80 years today, with over 70,000 physicians spread across the entire country, as is noted in Pedro Ross's How the Workers' Parliaments Saved the Cuban Revolution. Thanks to a national immunization campaign that began in 1962, the Cuban government was able to radically combat disease. Polio was eradicated that same year, malaria in 68, diphtheria in 71, measles in 93, rubella in 95, and so on and so forth. And when we compare Cuba's economic performance to that of its Latin American contemporaries, it substantially outperformed them, especially during the 70s and 80s. To be specific, between 1970 to 1988, Cuba enjoyed an annual economic growth rate that averaged 4.1%, while the comparable growth figure for Latin America during that time was just 1.2%. In the 80s, the rest of Latin America suffered an extreme debt crisis that caused the region's overall GDP to plummet by almost 10% between 1981 and 1984, while Cuba experienced an economic boom at that time with an annual average growth rate of 7.3%. It wasn't until Cuba's trading partners ceased to exist and the U.S. economic warfare intensified that Cuba began to suffer substantially. But we'll get to that later. First, we haven't even touched on the social improvements in the wake of the Cuban Revolution. Castro's government immediately banned all forms of racial discrimination in private and public life. Prior to the revolution, Cuba had segregated beaches, clubs, schools, and so forth. The revolutionary government outlawed this while promoting gender equality and the integration of women into the workforce. Now, if I were to tell you, my mostly Western audience, that post-revolutionary Cuba also boasts a unique form of participatory democracy, odds are a good amount of you wouldn't believe me. And that's fine. Again, I'm not here to pretend that Cuba is perfect or that they have everything figured out, but rather to challenge your preconceptions, specifically about democracy and what actually constitutes it. In the West, particularly in the US, democracy seems to be something people do once every 4 years, where they go out and vote for one of two corrupt politicians from two corrupt parties, all while their material realities steadily decline over time, and it seems as though fundamental change never comes, no matter how badly the populace wants it. Take universal health care in the US, for example. The masses want it, it's a popular demand, but no matter the color tie on the president, it never comes. As the saying goes, in America, you could change the party, but not the policy. In a place like Cuba, sure, you have one party that serves as an ideological vanguard, but the policies can actually be changed, and the masses can exert some form of control on a grassroots level. That's why, as Arnold August notes, Cuba is an example of democracy in motion, as opposed to the stagnant, decrepit bullshit that takes place in the US. And in case you don't believe me, I'll quickly explain how the system of participatory democracy looks in Cuba. Right off the bat, it's worth mentioning that many Cubans reject the imposition of multi-party systems and argue that before 1959, Cuba had political parties, but no democracy. A direct rebuttal to the idea that the two are inextricably linked. But before we get into that, we should probably lay some groundwork and talk about what democracy even is and why it's important. Aviva Chomsky, in her book, A History of the Cuban Revolution, has a great succinct passage that perfectly describes how a fully fleshed out democracy should look. It goes like this. In essence, democracy has to do with systems or mechanisms for the people of a society to be involved in making decisions about how their society will function. Political scientists distinguish between representative and direct democracy. In a representative democracy, people participate in decision-making by electing representatives to make the actual decisions. In a direct democracy, Decisions are made by some sort of collective assembly in which all can participate. And in Cuba, the latter reigns through direct citizen involvement, mass organizations, and a unique electoral structure. Elections are held at the municipal, provincial, and national levels, and the Communist Party of Cuba, the PCC, does not nominate or run candidates. Money plays no role in Cuban elections, no advertising, no campaigning, just a one-page biography of each candidate posted publicly. The general...
I mean, do I even have to say it? It makes me want to shake something. I'm so mad right now.
Yeah.
But they're corrupt. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Election process is divided into two distinct phases. Phase 1 covers municipal elections. In small neighborhood districts, residents gather in open assemblies to directly nominate candidates from among themselves by a show of hands. Citizens then elect delegates to the municipal assemblies via secret ballot. Once constituted, these local municipal assemblies elect their own president and vice president from among their ranks. Phase 2 covers national elections for the National Assembly of People's Power. For these seats, candidates are proposed by candidacies commissions, made up of representatives from mass organizations such as trade unions, student groups, and the Women's Federation, rather than directly by neighborhood assemblies. To ensure the national government remains anchored to the grassroots, up to 50% of these national deputies are the local municipal delegates who were already elected by their neighborhoods in Phase 1. Ultimately, this creates a participatory, bottom-up democratic system. So by now you might be wondering, if the PCC isn't involved in elections, what's its purpose? Well, it exists as an ideological vanguard, influenced largely by the ideas of José Martí, who believed in a single unifying party to defend Cuba against foreign domination. The PCC guides the overall political and economic orientation of the country, but refrains from taking over administrative procedures or participating in the electoral process. And Cuba's democracy in motion goes beyond voting and includes massive networks of civil organizations. These organizations are embedded directly in the political system and have the constitutional right to initiate legislation, stabilize the economy during crisis, and more. For example, in the 1990s, after the USSR dissolved, over 80,000 workers' parliaments collectively formulated strategies to reorganize production and save the Cuban economy. But the most telling feature of Cuban democracy, in my opinion, is the grassroots legislative consultations. In Cuba, major national policies undergo extensive grassroots deliberation and amendment before they can be passed. As August wrote in reference to Castro's relationship with the citizenry, this is groundbreaking in the annals of revolution, whereby leaders publicly exchange with the people in mass meetings and a dialectic bond is created in order to make decisions. A clear example of this principle in action is the 2000...
This administration doesn't even care that most American citizens are opposed to like the war that they're starting.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit that like the people that they're sending to go boots on the ground in this war don't want to participate in this war. Like, just the contrast. I can't
But they're corrupt.
Right. Yeah. I guess actually sitting down with like the people who would be affected by your policies is corrupt. Yeah.
Why would you do that?
You might be subjected to like the people's opinions, and it might hurt your feelings, and you can't have that. You can't have that.
So stupid. So stupid.
2008 Social Security Bill, which was debated in over 85,000 local workers' assemblies by more than 3 million people. Citizens' input directly shaped and amended the bill until it reflected the wishes of the masses. As a result, pensions were recalculated in a way that was more favorable to workers than what was originally proposed in the bill's first draft. The 2011 economic guideline reforms were debated by about 9 million people in over 160,000 meetings, which resulted in 68% of the guidelines being modified before being adopted. And the list goes on. My apologies if this part of the video feels dry or boring or too analytical, but I think it's important to show how democracy can take a different shape than what we see in the US and how it can produce more meaningful results. In Cuba, there's a highly decentralized electoral system paired with massive ongoing public consultations that give everyday Cubans veto power and the ability to amend the laws and economic plans that affect them. In the US, by contrast, you get to vote between Epstein's friend in red or Epstein's friend in blue. And yes, there are still shortcomings with the way things are in Cuba. That's why democracy is understood as a
It's all
process and
Epstein's
something that is
friends.
ongoing and in motion, not just something that happens every 4th November where you vote for the lesser evil. In April of 1960, a U.S. Internal State Department memo, colloquially referred to as the Mallory Memorandum, boasted the subject line, "The Decline and Fall of Castro," and it explicitly stated that the majority of Cubans supported Castro, that there was no effective political opposition in Cuba, and that U.S. military intervention would only cause Castro to become even more popular. The memo goes on to explain how the U.S. would go about achieving its goal of destroying Cuba so that its corporations
Why
can
does
get back to plundering
why
it the
does
way
the
they had
US
for so
care
many
so
years prior.
much?
The only foreseeable means of alienating internal support is through disenchantment and disaffection based on economic dissatisfaction and hardship. Every possible means should be undertaken promptly to weaken the economic life of Cuba, it reads. Then it calls for denying Cuba money and supplies, openly fantasizes about falling real and monetary wages, and explicitly seeks to induce hunger, desperation, and the overthrow of Castro. Typically, when we talk about Cuba,
It's so
people love to blame
evil.
communism as though it were the
That's
primary cause of the
so
island's
evil.
suffering,
So
supposedly
fucking
doomed to
evil.
fail because of its inherent futility. But if communism were destined to collapse on its own, why did U.S. officials feel the need to go all out like this? And to be clear, everything laid out in that memorandum was eventually carried out by the U.S. Remember how earlier I mentioned that the Cuban revolutionary government carried out land reform programs where vast tracts of often uncultivated arable land hoarded by foreign companies and the descendants of slave-owning Cuban elites were redistributed to the peasantry? Well, this is often cited as one of the main causes of economic tension between the US and Cuba. People point to this and claim that the evil communist dictator Fidel Castro stole property from the US and the Cuban land-owning elite, but in reality, Castro offered compensation for everything he expropriated, acted within the legal limits of Cuba's own 1940 constitution, which allowed confiscation for the public good and explicitly prohibited large land holdings, and he did so to reclaim land hoarded by foreign companies to the direct detriment of the Cuban people. If this sounds like some alien communist concept, I'd encourage you to look at your own country's eminent domain laws, which allows the state to confiscate private property when it deems it necessary. I'd argue that the situation in Cuba, where the majority of arable land was held either by foreign companies, leaving much of it idle, or by some asshole who earned his acreage by inheriting a plantation from a slave-owning granddaddy while the masses lived in squalor, was more than enough justification for this policy.
More than
And again,
enough.
Castro offered
Yeah.
compensation. Other major Western countries, Canada, Spain, Switzerland, the UK, France, all negotiated with Fidel and accepted his terms. The United States was the exception. It refused to negotiate, shot the offer down, and claimed that Castro wasn't offering adequate compensation.
What
Well,
the hell
then
is
let's talk
wrong
about
with
how
us?
Fidel's government
Like-
actually
You're
came
so
up with this
fucking evil.
compensation plan. He
This
offered to
empire is so
compensate
evil.
those whose property he expropriated with 20 to 29-year government bonds carrying a 4.5% interest rate. The amount of compensation was based directly on the value the owners themselves had declared on their tax returns.
Okay.
U.S. companies and Cuban elites were outraged by Castro's offer and perceived it to be an undercut because they had been systematically undervaluing their land for years to pay less in taxes. All Fidel did was take them at their word about what their property was worth. Another
Well,
major
you can
catalyst
use
for
our
tensions
tricks.
between the US and Cuba was the fact that Cuba signed a lucrative trade deal with the Soviet Union in 1960, where the Cubans would trade sugar for Soviet oil and goods. In response to this agreement, American oil companies operating in Cuba and acting on advice from Washington refused to process Soviet petroleum. This move caused Castro to expropriate and nationalize the refineries. Now,
Sometimes
in
I
case
wish
you
the
think that
Soviet
Castro
Union
had
didn't
no
break
legal
up.
right to do this, you would be
Sometimes I
wrong.
wish
As
that.
Salim Lamrani wrote in The Economic War Against Cuba, where he touches on the legality of Castro's expropriations,
read
they were
Howard
carried
Zinn.
out in accordance with international law that grants any nation the sovereignty.
What?
We have to read Howard Zinn.
I have it right there. Like
Oh,
I
do
don't.
you?
Yeah, yeah. It's
We
literally
have to read
like
it.
On my bookshelf. Yeah, I need
It's looking at you like, when is it gonna be my turn?
it is. It's like, wow. It's like, oh, I guess, well, it's like 2 down from like a smut book that's like this big that I have read. Like, I'm ridiculous. I should do better.
Nice. Nice.
Sovereign right to nationalize companies operating on its
We're not
territory in
serious,
exchange
people.
for compensation.
At all.
And as we've already been over,
We'll get
Just
there.
not serious.
We'll
When
get
there's
serious.
a fascist fucking regime and they burned all the books and we have to smuggle for bread? And we have to turn into Fidel Castro and like actually lead the revolution ourselves?
I'll read it next.
You-
Okay. Oh my god.
Do you think we would survive the revolution?
I mean, I do kind of live out in the middle of nowhere. It depends on how vicious my neighbors get.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's tough for me. Not many places I can go.
Plus, I mean, if
But I'm in a blue state.
Jay's pretty handy, so like, it'll be good for bartering, you know?
I suppose that's true.
I know how to make a lot of shit from scratch, so like,
I've been
that
learning how to
could
make.
be okay.
I've been looking how to make penicillin.
That's cool. You
That's a
got
very
just-
important skill to have.
You just have pieces of bread just hanging around. Like-
No, I'm not learning, actually doing it. Like just watching videos on like how to make penicillin. So not actually learning, but just
that is a good
accumulating
skill
the
to
knowledge.
have. I've gotten a bunch of like foraging books recently.
Oh, okay.
I need to get books on like
I know how to farm.
herbs and stuff that I could cultivate that are like
Yeah.
medicinal. I don't know the medicinal properties.
Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of neat too. Actually, like the herb medicinal, like what kind of bacterial. Yeah, that'd kind of.
I think it's good to know. I think it's
That's good to know. Yeah. We never know. Kind of happen any day.
I mean, I don't remember is it Queen Anne's lace or whatever? So that's poisonous. So, you know, I could poison people if I had to, but I don't know what is actually useful.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that can induce an abortion if you give like the right quantity. I'm gonna get us banned if I keep talking like that. I'll shut up. I'll shut up.
over. When it came to Castro's nationalizations, his government put forth plans to compensate those whose property was affected. Other Western governments and companies came to an agreement with him. The U.S. stubbornly refused to negotiate. Quote, all of the nations affected by the expropriation process negotiated with the Cuban government and accepted global compensation agreements, all with the exception of the United States. The Eisenhower administration demanded, as a minimum standard, an indemnification rapid, adequate, and effective for the nationalization of U.S. assets. However, this procedure is not recognized by international law, which prohibits a third country from imposing conditions on sovereign nations, that is to say, involving itself in that nation's internal affairs. Anyway, this move by Castro led the Eisenhower administration to cut Cuba's sugar quota and eventually impose a trade embargo on Cuba in October of 1960. By 1961, the U.S. severed all diplomatic relations with the island. Now, all of these specifics are important to know, but honestly, I'm of the opinion that there was really nothing the Cubans could have done to avoid the wrath of the United States government. As the previously mentioned April 1960 Mallory Memorandum made clear, well before Castro nationalized the oil refineries in June of that year, the U.S. goal was to deliberately inflict economic destruction and hardship on Cuba in order to overthrow the new government. CIA officials themselves acknowledged that Castro was originally appointing anti-communists to his government, that he wasn't an unreasonable man, that he wasn't anti-American, and that he could be worked with. But none of this was enough because at the end of the day, the goals of the Cuban Revolution were to implement progressive reforms in a country ravaged by foreign capitalist interests. And there was simply no way to move toward equality and assert national sovereignty in Cuba without making the oppressor class feel persecuted. To wrap this point up with one more Lamrani quote, the stranglehold that U.S. multinationals held over the Cuban economy was so strong that it became impossible to undertake any reforms without affecting their interests. And the U.S. didn't only respond to the Cuban Revolution through economic means. The use of violence began almost immediately after Castro's government came to power. See, way before Eisenhower imposed the embargo in October of 1960, and even before the Mallory Memo of April 1960, some 30 bombing raids were already carried out against Cuba at the start of that year by US-based planes. So if you needed more proof that the US was the aggressor from the start, that they were never interested in striking a fair deal with Castro, despite the fact that he was understood to be a reasonable man by US officials, then there you have it. But it gets worse. In April of 1961, a CIA-sponsored militia of Cuban exiles invaded Cuba in what was known as the Bay of Pigs invasion. The US government's goal here was to have these invaders attack the island, hopefully rally popular support, and trigger an uprising against Castro, form a provisional government, and give the US military the pretext it needed to intervene. This was a catastrophic failure, and the Cuban military was able to quell the attack within 3 days. A few months later, in November of '61, JFK, entirely humiliated by the defeat at the Bay of Pigs, authorized Operation Mongoose, a project to overthrow the Cuban government from within through sabotage, espionage, and assassination attempts. From setting fire to agricultural fields and sugar mills and engaging in biological warfare, to blowing up oil refineries and striking mines, the attacks levied against Cuba during this period were horrific. So much so that Lyndon B. Johnson can be quoted reminiscing on this period and complaining about it, saying, "We had been operating a damned murder inc. in the Caribbean." In February of 1962, John F. Kennedy decided to step it up a notch and dramatically escalated the economic warfare by transforming the existing sanctions into a blockade, banning all U.S. exports to the island. He also moved to isolate Cuba internationally, pressuring U.S. allies in NATO and in the Organization of American States to follow Washington's lead. This campaign of isolation eventually culminated in a sweeping regional embargo which had a devastating economic impact on Cuba. Cuba, however, managed to weather the storm by deepening its relationship with the Soviet Union and the broader communist bloc. Fearing an imminent U.S. invasion in the wake of the Bay of Pigs attack, Operation Mongoose, and the ongoing economic warfare, Cuba agreed to host Soviet missiles in October of 1962. And honestly, if you or I were in Fidel Castro's position, we probably would have done the exact same thing. How many attacks have to be levied against you before you take serious measures to defend yourself? I bring up the Cuban Missile Crisis because critics of Cuba often point to it and completely rewrite the timeline, claiming that it was the catalyst for the embargo. You'll hear lines like, well, Cuba tried to destroy the world, of course we had to sanction them, which is barely even worth humoring. The missile crisis happened after years of U.S. aggression toward Cuba had already begun. And crucially, the instigator wasn't Havana or the USSR. U.S. nuclear missiles were stationed near the Soviet border in Turkey and Italy first. The Soviets simply matched that energy, but I digress. As mentioned earlier, things in Cuba were relatively good in the wake of the revolution and throughout the 70s and 80s. The country managed to blunt the worst effects of US-led economic warfare by trading with the communist bloc, and that relative stability created the conditions for Cuba to engage in acts of international solidarity. Take Angola, for instance. The Cuban military intervened to help the MPLA in its fight against the invading white supremacist forces of apartheid South Africa. And Cuba's support for the Angolan leftists was about more than just shared ideology. Cuba itself had been a slave society for centuries, and it carried a deep legacy of brutal racism prior to the revolution. The Cuban government viewed its support for Angola as a way of helping to right that historical wrong. Between 1975 and 1991, more than 300,000 Cubans volunteered to serve in Angola, and over 2,000 of them died. The Western chauvinists often dismiss Cuba's role in Angola as nothing more than the actions of a Soviet proxy. The reality is the opposite. Cuba acted completely selflessly on its own initiative and didn't even inform the Soviet Union of its initial decision to deploy troops. What is understood to be the climax of the Angolan War is the Battle of Quito Cuanavale, where the South African forces tried to capture the town. In response, Castro sent military reinforcements, and the ensuing battle ended up being the largest military engagement on the African continent since World War II. The result of this battle, which historian Isaac Saney refers to as African Stalingrad, was the victory of Cuban and Angolan forces and the defeat of South Africa. The historical consequences of this South African loss were the independence of Namibia, which was under South African occupation, and the collapse of apartheid. As a show of gratitude for this massive Cuban sacrifice, Nelson Mandela, shortly after being released from prison, flew to Cuba to personally thank Fidel Castro and the Cuban people for their support against apartheid. We have come here today recognizing our great debt to the Cuban people. What other country has such a history of selfless behavior as Cuba has shown for the people of Africa? What country has ever needed help from Cuba and not received it? How many countries threatened by imperialism or fighting for their freedom have been able to count on the support of Cuba? Mandela said in his speech, illustrating the selflessness of the Cuban people. Unfortunately, in 1991, the Soviet Union fell and Cuba entered into an economic crisis known as the Special Period, which lasted until 2000. The U.S. used this as an opportunity to ramp up economic warfare by implementing the Torricelli and Helms-Burton Acts. The Torricelli Act of 1992 banned foreign subsidiaries of U.S. companies from trading with Cuba, penalized countries that aided Cuba, and prohibited ships that docked in Cuban ports from entering the U.S. for 180 days. This effectively made it so that you would have to decide between trade with the U.S. or Cuba, but not both. Many chose the much larger U.S. market, obviously. This also effectively cut off food and medicine imports to Cuba. The Helms-Burton Act of 1996 codified the embargo and made it so that no U.S. president could remove it without congressional approval, and it penalized foreign companies that used property in Cuba, making it so that they could be sued in U.S. courts. This was designed to prevent investment and trade with Cuba and cut it off from the outside world, even going so far as to leverage the U.S.'s influence over international financial institutions to make it so that Cuba could not be granted credit. So for those who like to downplay and lie about the blockade and claim that it's merely the U.S. exercise...
But given that that's not constitutional, it's again like, okay, well, so every time that Democrats have had both houses, we
just don't give a fuck.
Didn't care? Okay.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Great.
Just keep it running. Just fucking keep it running.
Its right to refrain from trade with Cuba, fuck you, you're a liar. This blockade breaches international law. It imposes U.S. laws and political demands onto other sovereign nations to stop them from trading with Cuba, asserting American dominance over the island for no reason other than Cuba's insistence on upholding its national sovereignty, which it has the internationally recognized right to do. You tell me whether a country as altruistic as Cuba, one that has shown time and time again that it stands with the downtrodden of this world no matter where they are, deserves this. But let's get back to showcasing Cuba's selflessness. Specifically, its medical internationalism. Since 1960, more than 400,000 Cuban medical professionals have served in 164 countries. By the mid-1990s, Cuba had more doctors working abroad than the World Health Organization itself. In 2005, Cuba sent workers to Pakistan in the wake of an earthquake and treated 75% of the victims. After Haiti's 2010 earthquake, Cuban doctors acted immediately.
It makes me think about the video you sent earlier about the education system, the higher education system that they have.
Yeah.
And I thought about that for a while after. I'm just like, you know, because we have a system where it's so hard to become a doctor.
Yeah, so hard.
Meaning that we, like, for the most part, probably have, like, a large chunk of, I mean, obviously we have great doctors, but we also probably, I would say, have a large chunk who are just, like, legacy from wealthy families, from families of doctors who like have no business being doctors, don't want to be doctors really, like in their hearts, like
they just do it because their parents forced them.
Right, and they have the money to do it, you know.
Yes.
Or and they maybe they wanted to do it, but they want it not because they want to help people, they want the prestige of being a doctor. You know, like just things that don't make good doctors. But it's like they have a system that sets up where like they have as many doctors as they need, because by the way, we have a doctor shortage. Every healthcare professional, we have a shortage. They have a system where they can have as many doctors as they need. They test them so that they know that they're qualified to be doctors. They're actually the top people, not just the people who can manage to pass the test and have the money for it. You know. And they manage to have as many as they need, so that they can have
164 countries
all over the world, and have even like in their most rural sections of the country, you have your family doctor within walking distance. You know?
Yeah. Like, why is that why is that bad to have that? Like, why don't we have that? Why don't we have that? Like, I got sick. I just like it's like, so I'm on Husky, right? they cancel it every fucking 2 months because like they'll request the paperwork, which they have access to. Every time I go to apply for it, like I don't give a fuck. I don't really care if I have Husky or not, right? Every time I go to apply for Access Health, like I put it in, like I put all my information in, my income, my monthly income. I'll give them my pay stubs or whatever. Like you have full access to my IRS. I'll give them my taxes. They're like, okay, well you qualify for Husky. Do you want it? I'm like, qualify for it? Sure. Give me fucking Husky.
Like, yeah, I know I do because I did 2 months ago.
Right, like to give it to fucking me. Then like it's fine. And okay, it's happened so many times. Like I call and I have the person on the end that works for Access Health fill out the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even me filling out the paperwork anymore. It's they are themselves filling out the fucking paperwork. They do it. They give it. They like, and it's fine. It's like, oh yeah, you should be all set. You shouldn't have any fucking problems. Like we don't need any more information from you. We'll contact you if you do. 2 months later, they're like, we need more paperwork. What fucking paperwork? What paperwork? What paperwork? They're like, oh,
And
you didn't give us the information. Gone.
By the time they pay all those customer service people, pay all those case managers to, review your documents and send you all these letters saying that, like, they've paid, like, our taxes could have paid the healthcare 10 times over. Like, I can't.
Like not even just the healthcare, but like all that money could have gone to the healthcare, and then the rest of it that they would have saved could have gone to like a fucking like a person that actually wants to be a doctor. Give him like the resources to go be a fucking doctor, and you would have had an extra fucking doctor.
Yeah, we don't need all we create so again. I mean, we talked about this before. We create so much waste in the system.
Yes. Yes. And I don't know, like, is it on purpose or is it just like capitalism? I think it's both. Like, it's just capitalism creating a way for it to like exploit more money. You know what I mean? Which creates like this weird fucking system that makes no sense. It just harms everybody except for the capitalist owner class.
Yeah, I would agree. It makes it. I mean, they're stingy about what they cover, obviously, but it makes it harder. They can justify making it more expensive, and they just funnel it towards, because I mean private insurance works the same exact way, so they just funnel it towards that. Yeah
So stupid.
And after Ebola broke out in West Africa in 2014, Cuba was the first nation to respond with a medical contingent. In collaboration with Venezuela, Cuba launched Operation Miracle in 2004, where free eye surgery was given to low-income individuals across Latin America. And by 2019, it had restored vision to over 4 million people in 34 countries, entirely free of charge. Between 1990 and 2011, even during its own economic crisis, Cuba treated over 20,000 Chernobyl victims, free of charge. In 1999, it established the Latin American School of Medicine and trained students from impoverished communities all over the world, including from the very country that had been sabotaging it, the US. And Cuba did this, you guessed it, free of charge on the condition that those who received an education would serve their communities. By 2019, almost 30,000 doctors from 105 countries had graduated. As Castro said in a 2003 speech, Cuba does not drop bombs on other people. Cuba does not possess nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, or biological weapons. Our country's tens of thousands of scientists and doctors have been educated in the idea of saving lives. I once said that we could not and would never carry out preventive or surprise attacks against any dark corner of the world, but rather, our country could send needed doctors to the darkest corners of the world. Doctors, not bombs. Doctors, not smart weapons. There's something somewhat remarkable about a country whose history has been defined by fending off aggression for centuries, and then once it finally achieves a sense of stability, immediately turns to helping those in need, no matter where they are, even in the empire that seeks to destroy it. And even as it suffered its own economic crisis after the dissolution of the USSR, it kept going and continued to aid those who needed it most. By the mid-2000s, Cuba had bounced back from the special period, in part thanks to a lucrative economic arrangement between Cuba and the new Venezuelan government headed by Hugo Chavez, who supplied Cuba with the oil it needed in exchange for doctors. And for the next little while, Cuba was doing all right. It wasn't really until Trump, who in his first term added an additional 200+ sanctions on the country, and later, COVID, which destroyed Cuba's tourism industry, that the island began to really suffer again. Which brings us to the modern day, where Trump's genocidal strangulation of the island can really only be understood as collective punishment, though the economic warfare levied against Cuba has always been a form of collective punishment, let's be real. But at the time of this recording, Cuba is running out of oil, which it desperately needs to function, while the US threatens any country that decides to help. I don't know what's in store for Cuba, but if history shows us anything, it's that the Cuban people are extremely resilient, adaptive, and steadfast in the face of foreign aggression. They always have been. Let this video exist to highlight the selflessness and durability of the Cuban people, who have shown that when you structure a society around the well-being of all and not just profits for the few, you can not only improve the lives of those domestically, but inspire change throughout the world. If you want to see more anti-Cuba propaganda refuted, such as the lies about Che Guevara being a mass murderer or the claims that Fidel and co. had concentration camps for gay people, check out this video of mine. I also have a weekly podcast where we talk about current and historical events and occasionally bring on some great guests. We did an episode on Cuba not too long ago if you want to check that out. Huge thanks to my patrons on Patreon for making these high...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it just
evil.
feels very classic American, like, imperialist story. I mean, like you said, we do the same exact playbook. I mean, we're doing the same thing again here. We're doing the same thing in Iran, you know, saying like, oh, they're trying to destroy the world. We have to do this so that they don't get a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
All over Latin America, we've done it. So it's just exactly.
Yeah, that comment was hard, by like right there. That quote Castro said, "You strangle us for 40 years, then criticize for the way we breathe." Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. Have you seen that? Have you seen that interview by Fidel Castro, where I think he's going to New York for the UN, like to give speech at the UN, and somebody asked him, like, they say you wear a bulletproof vest.
Mm-mm.
And he takes off his shirt and he goes, "No, the only vest I wear is of morality." Like, that's fucking hard. I should look that up. Yeah, look it up. It's kind of crazy. It's like every time I watch it, I cannot get over it. Like, I cannot get over like how that's a fucking bar, bro. Yeah, right there.
Siempre está protegido con su traje. ¿Cuál traje? What suit? Everybody says you always have a que todo el mundo dice que usted tiene un chaleco a prueba de balas. No. Voy a desembarcar así en Nueva York. I will land in New York like this. Tengo un chaleco. Land in New York like this. Tengo un chaleco moral. I have a moral one.
Like,
a moral vest.
Like, that's just hard.
Ese me ha protegido. That one has protected me always.
Es uno de los más intentados matar, la verdad.
Damn.
Like, that's so tough. Like, you can't like, that's aura. The man is a walking, talking aura.
My moral
That's
vest
incredible.
has protected me always.
Yeah.
It's actually
And
like
it is.
sweeter than the way that you said it. It's just like, I have my moral vest that's protected me always.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nah, like, he looks so rugged, but like the way when you listen to him talk, he's like, oh, this man is just like just a good person. Like, this is just a good fucking person. That's insane.
So then, like, I guess growing up, like, partially in the 90s and the early 2000s, I remember, like, really as, like, a little kid, the only thing I knew about Cuba, of course, was, like, the video images of people, like, basically washing up on the shore in Florida. Like, so all of that was, those people are basically because of, like,
plantation
repercussions of the,
Yeah.
like, embargoes and stuff like that. Like, that's why they would come.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, a lot of
I mean, would the plantation owners have to come that way? Is what I'm like, probably
yes,
not,
I guess.
right?
I guess that's technically probably isn't in the 90s. That would have happened much earlier. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. As the video said, like the Fidel was like, "Oh yeah, you want to leave? Just fucking leave. Like, you go ahead. You're welcome to leave." Like,
Right.
But yeah, like they don't have the money to buy a plane ticket out, like, because Like,
well, they also weren't really allowed to do that because of our rules.
Right, like we
weren't
don't allow
offering
it.
like the rule was like, I know it's not the same now, but it was like you can't get a visa, but if you come here, if you get here, we're not gonna like turn you away or something like that.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, I was told like, well, they're under like an oppressive regime, so like
They're fleeing.
We don't want to help. We can't help them while they're in the water because we don't want to like incur the wrath of their dictator,
Cuba.
whatever.
Yeah.
But like we're good people, so we want to help them when
Right.
they come. It was very interesting just thinking back on it and being like, because like the footage and like obviously in the 90s, like the oldest I am is like 6, so I'm just like watching this brutal imagery of people literally like washing up onto the shore. I'm just like, what the fuck? Why is this happening?
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, like, I never saw that. Like, I wasn't here, so the first I learned about Cuba was through just like, the Cold War happened. Well, why did the Cold War happen? Well, the Soviets wanted to put missiles in Cuba to get to the mainland USA, and the Cubans were bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were with the Russians. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, that's all you know. But then, like, then you look a little deeper into like what the Cuban Missile Crisis is, and it's like, oh yeah, the Cold War happened, and then like they wanted missiles, and then it was like boom, gone. Like, and then we're moving on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, quick. It's like that. Like, nobody talks about like why it started, what happened, like why did the revolution happen, and like nobody talks about Batista. Like, nobody's talking about any of that, and then like nobody talks about like the Cuban embargo, like what we're doing to them, and the sanctions, and like all the fucking biological chemicals that we dropped, and like all the since then,
like biological warfare, and like that's crazy. Like,
on their fields, where they eat their food from.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, at the same time, I was gonna say like, in the 60s and 70s, like that's crazy. But I was like, well, we were literally doing the same thing to Vietnam at the same time. So, like, I guess it's not that crazy because that's pretty well known. So,
yeah. Do you know a lot about Vietnam? I recently learned about what the fuck happened in Vietnam.
I mean, I don't know a lot about Vietnam, but
so it was a French colony for a long time. Right? They fought the revolution against the French, and then boom, World War II happens. The Japanese take it over. They fight the Japanese, and then at World War II ends. The French are like, well, we kind of want it back. Like
damn.
Back. So they go fucking back. So the Vietnamese fight the fucking French again, and then the U.S. is like, well, we can't let that be a communist country. So you're gonna fucking fight us. So they fight the Vietnamese fight the U.S. then, and then like in the meantime, you have like the South and Ho Chi Minh. Like Ho Chi Minh is doing all the fighting, right? Like leading all the charge. They invite him after like the French wanted it back, and then they lose the second time, and they invite him to the UN. They're talking about like, well, we're gonna do an election, and then like the U.S. installs their own puppet, like like a guy in there. Like, well, we'll wait. Like, we don't know who's going to do the elections. Well, the election's got to be fair. Like, so they just keep waiting, and like nothing is fucking happening. And then the guy, like the U.S. dictator, just goes, "Okay, well, the fucking elections aren't happening. I'm taking over."
Jeez.
And that's how the fucking Vietnam War started. Like, that's why because like Ho Chi Minh was extremely fucking popular, as all of the people are. Like, but like popularity doesn't fucking matter to the U.S. Like, they do what the fuck they want to do, right? Like, so they go and they just back up this guy, and then it wasn't like the Vietnamese fighting the Vietnamese. It was like the Vietnamese fighting actual U.S.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing again in North Korea. Like, they did the same thing in fucking North Korea. Like, that when we talk about it, like North Korea, they make it sound like, oh, it was like the South Koreans fighting against the North Koreans. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Well, why would we need so many troops on the ground, right? If that's what it was,
Well, so
I mean, like, especially Vietnam, I mean, I don't really know that much about the Korean War, honestly.
Well, after the war ended, the big war ended, Soviet Union controlled top half of it. That's how they divided it up. and then the U.S. controlled the bottom half of it, leading to the so-called elections that would eventually happen. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it like by crazy amount.
Sure.
And then like they kept waiting, and like the people that controlled the North and the Soviet Union, they were immensely popular. Like they were extremely popular around the entire peninsula. Like the DPRK, they were like, oh, we're gonna hold these elections and we'll win. And then like nobody could decide who would hold the elections. The Soviets were like, well, the US can't hold them, and then like they'll cheat, and then the US is like, well, the Soviets can't hold them, obviously. Like they'll install their own guy, and like so nobody could figure it out. And then eventually like the North got tired of it. They were like we're just gonna go rule, like just do our own elections. And then everybody was like, oh no, this is fucking wrong. So they fought back. And like and then the war just fucking started, and like the Soviets kind of like left a little, and then the US was just like backed it up, and then it just had to fight, and then like eventually got tired of it, and then they drew the line of demarcation, like, and that's it. Like the entire like
weird
yeah, and then we trained the evil fucking people that we installed in South Korea, and then turned it into our own fucking government, and then like created their entire government and secret police to like oppress the anti-communist beliefs. They wanted to be communists.
The things we do in the name of fighting communism.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we want to play this Democrats clip and try to talk about about Tucker real quick before?
We can watch that. Yes. I don't know if you've seen this one.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. Hope it doesn't play an ad. I hate when they play ads like that. You have fucking infinite money, bro.
Right. Especially now.
Yeah.
When my hair started to
there it
thin,
is.
I thought, am I gonna have any hair left?
After I gave birth, my hair wasn't even thin, it was gone.
When I spoke to my dermatologist, he immediately pointed me in the direction of Nutrafol.
It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
We're gonna have to watch all
Within
25
3
seconds.
months, my hair was fuller.
It's
like
longer,
that's so
it's
stupid.
so
Can I
much
get a
thicker.
skip button
I
at
had
least?
more scalp coverage.
Honestly,
It was so nice to be noticed for my hair after hiding.
none of
it
you
for so
people
many
were
years.
losing your hair.
Start your
It's not
hair
None of
lying.
them.
journey at Nutrafol.com.
We've been talking about the new poll numbers for President Trump, historically low at this point in a second term. You know who else is polling poorly right now? Democratic leaders, almost historically so. With us now, CNN
This kind of
chief
pissed me off a
data
little.
analyst Harry.
You'll see
Anton.
where.
So,
You'll see exactly
good news
where.
for Democrats that the president's not doing well. Democratic leaders aren't so hot either.
They aren't so hot to trot. And as John was telling me before we came on, the call is coming from inside the House. Take a look at how Democrats who disapprove of congressional Democratic leaders. Hello, we're talking about 57% in January of 2026, the second highest disapproval rate for Democratic leaders from their own party on record. It's only beat by what we saw earlier on in this Congress when it was 61%. There's basically been no improvement. Democrats hate their own congressional leaders. These numbers are awful, awful, awful.
This is Democrat on Democrat crime, in a manner of speaking.
Democrat on Democrat crime.
Don't be fucking
is there
clever.
Democrat on
Shut the
Democrat
fuck
crime?
up.
And it just simply
Report.
comes down to this. They don't think their leaders are fighting enough. Dems who say congressional Dems are doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. In February of 2025, it was 73%. Now that number is up to 78%. Democrats want fighters in Congress. And at this point, they do not believe that the Democrats in Congress are fighting enough to oppose President Trump's agenda.
Any difference between the House and Senate leaders?
Yeah, okay. So this is, I think, the very
There it
key
is.
nugget going on. Who are they taking their anger out on? It's not Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House. It's the Democratic leader.
Why? Okay, why is he
Chuck Schumer,
like?
you know, you go back to January 2025.
Why?
You see Jeffries.
Why did he get more
favorability rating was at
Like,
plus
oh,
22.
what?
It's
Like,
actually
what are
slightly
people
higher now,
thinking?
plus 29.
What did
What
he
is he
do?
doing?
Look at Chuck
What
Schumer. He was
what
on
do
the
you think he's
positive
doing?
side of the ledger. And again, this is among Democrats. This is among Democrats. He was at plus 11. Now he's underwater at -2.
Damn,
I
Schumer
went
is
back and I
really.
looked at every single
People blame-
Democratic
are blaming
Senate
Schumer,
leader.
I
I
guess.
Who's
did
running
all the
against
polling
him?
I could. He polls the lowest for any
His
Democratic
hat-
Senate
you would
leader
know about it by
among
now,
Democrats
somebody
dating
You would know
back
about it
in
right
the
now,
last
yeah.
40 years.
So to what end? I mean, what are the prediction markets saying about whether he will survive as Democratic leader.
Yeah, of course.
They're
This is
doing
the
prediction
question, right?
markets,
Because
by the way.
if you're going to be
Like,
a
they're doing
Democratic
fucking
Senate leader,
Kelce
the key
bets
thing
on
is actually having
CNN,
the
dude.
support of those in the Senate doesn't necessarily matter.
This is so fucking
This
dumb. What
favorability
timeline are we
nationally,
in?
Right, because it's the senators who vote for the Senate leader. But take a look here. All right, chance that Chuck Schumer wins the next Democratic Senate leader election. It's only 56%. It's only 56%. I mean, it's on. You know, the
why are we
positive side of 50%
normalizing
for Chuck
this?
Schumer.
Like,
That's quite a low number given how long he's served as Democratic Senate leader.
Indeed, it is.
Anyway,
Harriet, thank
when
you
is
very much. A
Kelce
lot
shit?
of news.
Do you think
When my-
AOC instead should run for Senate
Yes,
instead of presidency?
I do think so. I think
I think a year in Senate would.
I think some time in Senate would be good for her. She
Yes.
can work on, I mean, I think we've talked about this already. She needs to work on her being able to message around foreign policy
I do
and
agree.
probably honestly develop her foreign policy
Much
belief
better.
system, like her
Yeah.
core beliefs in terms of foreign
Yeah.
policy before
Yeah.
becoming the president, where that's what she's gonna have her hands in all day, every day, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in the Senate, like it'll be a better mix, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
of both foreign and domestic. And like I said, it gives her time. Also, I think, you know, that position in the Senate would be whether she would be the minority leader or I mean, maybe not, but like just being in the Senate, I think would just be more powerful for us for now than the presidency. Because I think, I mean, I obviously want to see a far left president, but like,
I don't think we're getting one anytime
I don't
soon.
know if we're going to get one anytime soon. And I don't know if it would be that great to get one, like, because like she would be so scrutinized, like,
Yes.
you know, like
Instantly.
everything's like so like everything's gonna be so shitty and terrible after Trump for so long, and she's like she will just bear the like obviously whoever any Democrat or any person who's not a conservative would bear the blame for it anyway, but like, you know, they would just try to destroy her with it. I don't know.
I mean, I don't disagree with you necessarily, but I was having this conversation with my mom yesterday. Surprisingly, Trump, by the time he gets out, is going to break so many things, as he's already done, and so many institutional guards that he's going to break. It might be good for whoever comes in next, and it might be really well for if it's a leftist president that comes in next with the will. I think it really depends, because they would be able to build so much more because so much will be broken.
Right. I mean, I've heard people say that too, and I like agree with it that like
it's just
you
a
know,
will.
I'm coming out of it, like we're gonna need our modern day FDR, you know, and I think that makes sense. I do.
Like just fucking ram right through. Like just go for it. I mean, it would just be infinitely easier if like there was a leftist president and Congress was left, so they could just fucking like just build the guards, just build the infrastructure all over again that actually help the people and stuff like that. Because like if we don't give her the Congress, right? Because then it's just gonna be like roadblocks every other fucking day. There's a roadblock just happening. You know what I mean? Because she's already going to face roadblocks from corporations who are going to sue every single fucking thing she does and just like stop. Like, you know what I mean? That's where I say what I mean by like if like there's needs to be somebody with willpower. Because if somebody fucking sues and like just pull the Trump method, like I'm going to fuck you, like you shut the fuck up, like but withdraw this lawsuit immediately, like I'm going to deny you of everything, like you did with the fucking all the attorneys, all the law firms, right? Like, oh, you're gonna fight lawsuits against me? All right, well, I'm fucking taking all your goddamn badges away or all your clearances away. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like if I don't have a leftist president like that, like then it's just hard. Then it's just not. You're gonna. The only thing you're gonna be left with is scrutiny. That's it. Like, no wins. You're just gonna have no wins.
Yeah.
So I do agree.
Yeah, I think it would be a real rock and hard because I don't like because I don't have an alternative. Like I don't know who should at this point. I don't know who should run for president.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know,
I don't
like
either.
I don't know who I want to see in the presidency. I would like to see her in Senate, and like I'd like to see her in leadership. Like,
Yeah.
but you know,
I agree. I agree, especially if
a
we win
leadership
the Senate
position.
back. Yeah, which it's looking like we'll win the Senate back. It's looking like we'll win the House back. So, if we have, she should endorse somebody properly, and realistically, like she shouldn't run for a House right now. I know she's running for it, but she shouldn't. Like she should just start now and just like actually give somebody a chance to like fill her seat, somebody proper to fill her seat. You know what I mean? So.
You want her to start running for Schumer's seat now?
Oh yeah, fucking do it now. I would do it now. But like, why wouldn't? Why not? Well, when the
I mean,
elections?
I guess
This year,
she
right?
still could. I mean, she still could, but she can.
The elections are this year, right?
Not for Schumer. He's not up until 28, so she can keep
Oh,
her
he's not up
seat
to
and then
28.
start.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought he was up. I thought he was up this year. Why did I think it was up this year? Yeah. Then that's fine.
I think
That's
it's because so many people are. I think you just probably assumed. Like,
assumed. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that'd be great. I think like she runs this like run the gambit like this year, and like under your wing, I start thinking about like, hey, I want to leave somebody that's exactly like me or better than me in my place. Like somebody needs to be in that line. Like somebody better be chomping, like looking behind AOC, like waiting for you to go. Like somebody from
Yeah.
DSA. You know what I mean? I'm like
I was
somebody
gonna say
from
we have to
DSA.
start looking at New York. Like,
Zoran should be thinking about this as well.
do you think he would try to take her?
I wouldn't mind that.
No, I wouldn't mind it either. Has he?
But I like him as a mayor.
What I was gonna say, he also seems pretty like that's what he wants to be doing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I don't know if he's expressed his political ambitions because I don't know. If
I
that
don't
was
think so.
closely as you. But I can see somebody wanting to keep that closer to their chest.
Yeah, no, I don't think he would let anybody know. Or this, it kind of just came to me too, is he does his full term, which would be over in 28, right? He runs another DSA candidate for mayorship, somebody else that's just like him, charisma and all that stuff. Maybe Shiosei could take over the mantle as mayor, and he runs for Schumer's seat.
Oh, he's just skipping straight to Senate.
He runs for Schumer's seat. He's infinitely more popular in New York. Yeah. He would win New York City like instantly.
Yeah.
There would be no competition for him. He would take that seat.
I
And
mean,
then AOC runs for president.
Maybe.
Because I agree with you what you said that she could use the leadership position role.
Mm-hmm.
Will I say she absolutely needs to be in the Senate to learn that role? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it's needed. I think it's just she over this year she just needs to be just hammering foreign policy a lot. There's not much she could do domestically. Like Zoran's kind of got it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Zoran's kind of got it. Like she doesn't really need to do too much like for her district because Zoran's doing it anyways. So just focus on foreign policy. Just do your foreign policy like roundabouts. Like anything you learn from the Senate, you can learn from Bernie. Like
Just
how
focus
much
on the
really
next
different
2
is it?
years.
Yeah, just do your foreign policy gambits. Like run the whole city. You're already doing fight the oligarchy tours. Keep doing that. Keep showing your face nationally. Be everywhere. Be everywhere for other
and I mean,
candidates.
she kind of has been. So maybe that's more her ambition. Maybe she's not as interested in the Senate.
I don't see. I don't necessarily. It'd be nice, sure. I don't necessarily think she needs it.
I would
So
just
it
like
could
to see the Senate be more progressive. So, but
Zoran would do it.
you can build up.
He's more progressive than AOC.
Yeah.
He's way more progressive than AOC, and he has governing experience. You know what I mean? He's gonna build all the connections in New York City. He's building all the connections in the state level. You know what I mean? So he would have so much more power in the Senate. It would benefit New York a lot more if Zoran was the senator there. 100%. And if somebody needs to take over his mantle as the New York, like all the work he's going to do in New York City as the mayor, he can easily pass that on to another DSA member.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, they have enough. New York City DSA has enough.
He's done enough. Already. It's crazy to say. It's insane.
I guess
he's
we'll
done
have
in a year.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, if I'm sitting there at DSA and if I'm actively talking, I don't even know if they're actively talking with each other. But I would like that. I think that would be the best case scenario. Fucking get rid of Schumer, put Zoran in, and the AOC runs, and then this entire time she just keeps doing her circuits. And then like another DSA member, like she is. Maybe that's why like he didn't let Chiose run against Jeffries. Like, hey,
no, you have to be the mayor.
you gotta follow me here. Yeah. You gotta follow me up. Maybe because they're friends. Like how like they're friends. Like you have to have some sort of conversation. Because like Chiose, like if he was like, oh, I got backstabbed by my friend, he'd be making a bigger fucking hoopla. Like, you know what I mean? He'd be making a like
I mean the reaction
went away quietly.
Exactly. He quietly stepped away. So I'm sure there was some sort of conversation as to what the future would look like.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna do my shit as a fucking mayor, and maybe there was a conversation with AOC involved in this. Like, are you gonna run? You gotta let me know if you're gonna fucking run, because I will run for Senate.
I mean, they're probably not gonna start campaigning until
because Trump's fuck ups aren't going away at all.
Right.
They're not going away.
Most people don't campaign like Trump and just perpetually campaign for like 3 years. So I mean, I guess we're
not going to see any of this.
We're like later next year, like how that's going to
it all pans out. Yeah, I'm just saying my wish list.
No, I like it. I would like to see that. I was thinking about like, if Zoran would try to go federal, after.
Yeah. I think he needs to. I think, and that's the highest he can go. It's the highest he can go. He can't go for president.
Right. And I mean, he's insanely popular. So
insanely popular. Whatever election he runs, he's gonna win it. Like there's gonna be nothing stopping this man.
People will turn out, which is good. I mean, it might result in more turnout.
Other candidates winning
overall. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could like it would be good. It would be good. Whatever election ballot he's on, it would be good to have other leftists like across the fucking board and have them turn out. Him running a statewide election will push a leftist across the state because most people do go down the ballot. And if they run as a solid fucking team, like full on, like, for like a bunch of assemblymen, bunch of state candidates, like they're all running with Zoran, like he's doing the fucking circuit with like all leftist candidates, like, hey, we gotta get these fucking guys in here. That's so powerful, like for the Senate and the House and at the local level.
Yeah.
And for the governorship too.
I like it.
I think that could be a good idea.
I do like it. I would also I would like kind of either way. Like I would like AOC in the Senate. I'd like her to run for president. I don't know. I have like nerves about it. I feel like because she's not as popular anymore, or I don't know if she ever was. She's not as popular as Zoran, and people are just.
No, I don't know. I disagree. I might disagree with that. I think she is just as popular as Zoran. Favorability is different than popularity, I think. Maybe she's not as favorable as Zoran, but I think she's just as popular, if not more. I think she might be more popular than Zoran.
Maybe I just have biases. Maybe I'm just like, I don't want to be disappointed by a woman losing again.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get excited about stuff.
But I don't think she would lose. I don't think she would lose to who? JD? Marco Rubio? Fuck no. She looks better than both of them. People vote with their eyes. They do. I'm telling you, they fucking do.
The clavicular and Gavin Newsom, yeah.
Apparently, there's rumors that JD Vance is taking Ozempic.
I mean, of course. Why wouldn't he?
After he heard about what Clavicular said. But I think she would, like, she's
He
way more
strikes me as a
charismatic
deeply
than both of them.
insecure.
Oh, 100%. But she's easily more charismatic than JD Vance and Marco Rubio both. Or if she runs against Tucker Carlson, she literally fucking beats him at all of his policies. Like, he has no policy. He's running on this. This is why I wanted to talk about Tucker Carlson. He's running on this. He's running on this away from MAGA. Like, I'm MAGA, but I'm not MAGA, right? Like, I'm what MAGA. He's running on this thing called, like, what MAGA is supposed to be, this anti-war thing, whatever the way it is. Like, oh, I have to. We don't want wars. We don't want this. Like, he's doing this anti-Israel thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like being friends with it, like, but I'm still friends with Israel. Like, but I'm not. I'm anti-Israel. Like, yeah, it's a grift. He's 100% doing this grift. But what he's targeting, he's not targeting MAGA anymore. Because if he becomes the base, if he becomes the nominee for Republicans, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't have to give a fuck about like MAGA. They're gonna follow him. He is way more popular than JD Vance. He's way more popular than Marco Rubio. What he's been targeting, and I think is a lot more dangerous, is the independents. They like him.
Yeah.
He is very likable.
Yeah, he's trying to scoop up all the people who voted for Trump for a change, and because they don't like trans people, like, and they think that that's like a big deal.
They think that's a big deal. They a majority of them are, a lot of them are Christian, so he targets that base. Like, oh, I'm.
But those, I
have these Christian values,
because those people are extremely frustrated by like the war and like.
Yes.
Not to make it personal, but I know of somebody who I had like considered MAGA talk about the military-industrial complex the other day, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?"
He'll like Carlson. Yeah. Guarantee you he'll like Carlson. So if that's who he's going for, I think in terms it will see how popular he gets. If he gets enough popularity, then he will run. But if he does run and on the other side, right? Like, because if the Republican ticket is between JD Vance, Marco Rubio, and Tucker Carlson smokes them. Like, it's going to be a quick and easy one. Like, he's just more relatable. He's just more charismatic. He's just more knowledgeable. He speaks to it. He knows how to talk well. So he'll get the ticket easily. On the other side, the ticket will be Buttigieg. He's not gonna get it. Like, he's not gonna get it. Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, and if it's Bashir or who was the other one? Pritzker. Pritzker will be the hardest. I don't think Pritzker's billionaire status takes it away from him. Kamala Harris already has been part of a genocide. The Democratic left is a 90-10 issue for them. Like, Israel is a 90-10 issue for them. So she's
Kamala Harris should probably stay away.
You could doubt me, but he will. If he decides to run, he will be president if he's running against Gavin Newsom. But anyways, Kamala Harris, they'll do the whole identity politics thing. You know what I mean with her? Like, they've been doing it just now. You can see a little bit happening when we watched like that video you sent me. So, but the issue for Kamala Harris isn't AOC. It's Gavin Newsom, because they're gonna pull from the same fucking base. They're pulling from the same base. Like, Kamala Harris is gonna pull the minority vote a little bit, but Gavin Newsom is gonna pull the fucking white, like the white, the young boy, the swaggy dude, the liberal fucking crowd. They're gonna pull from the same fucking vote, right? Bashir, he's already fucking murdered his chances with his little interview he just fucking gave. He's like, oh, the whole thing. So they all split the fucking vote, and then AOC just goes like, I'm anti-Israel's. I want to give you free healthcare.
Actually on the left,
Actually on the left, I want to give you the shit that you actually fucking want.
Yeah.
Bernie's gonna fucking support her every single way. Bernie's infinitely popular. Nobody fucking hates Bernie. MAGA doesn't hate Bernie.
And that would give her the Bernie bros who weirdly vote Republican when they can't vote for Bernie.
Yes, exactly.
Weirdos.
100%. So I think this is why, like, it would be good for her to run. It will be interesting to see.
I get curious. I get curious sometimes about like what Liberty just said. Like, what if it is just like, you know, two people just come out of nowhere? I mean, I know it's highly unlikely, but
there's no second Donald Trump. There's no second Donald Trump. Who has corralled the base that much? Who can do that much to the base? Donald Trump has solidified the base too much. He solidified it solidly Republican too much. He just has.
Yeah.
And the Democratic nominees, the only toss-up, only confusion is on the Democratic side because there's so many of them that want to run because they think like Trump is going to fuck it up so much that like people are going to want to be like, I'll take anybody. You know what I mean? So they think it's going to be the easy selection in the world. It's not.
Well, not when you run 10 different versions of the same exact candidate.
Well, that too. I'm not even talking about like the primary. I'm talking about like just like once you're past the primary, like all these people, because it's the same fucking like Kamala Harris with Gavin Newsom, same fucking person. Gavin Newsom to JB Pritzker, same fucking person. Like it's the same fucking person. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. Like they're all thinking like I like as soon as I run, like, oh, it's a free win. No, it's not going to be a free win because you're going to face Tucker Carlson. And unless you actually have conviction, you're not beating Tucker Carlson if he runs. It's a big if he runs. Like you're not. Like, but if it's between JD Vance and Marco Rubio, I think Rubio wins. Yeah. So I think that it's Tucker Carlson going to be very interesting, and nobody's talking about him. Like very few people are talking about him.
I mean, I hope he loses, but it'll be interesting to see if you're right.
Like you're saying Bill Clinton came out of nowhere. Like, dude, we're not in like this is not the same timeline we're living in. You don't understand. We're so much closer to. He won't lose. He won't lose. Depends on who he's running against. If he runs against AOC, he will lose. If he runs against Gavin Newsom, he will not lose. He will not lose. Gavin loses to Tucker every single fucking day. He'll see it. And the other thing that I was talking about, I don't know. Well, we can end it here if you want to. What was the thing we were talking about? If you want to, like the two clips, the two little short clips that I sent. The first one is overtly like fucking anti-Semitic. The second one is a little bit subtle, but I wanted to show this. Just to see where like the public sentiment is going. And not public sentiment just in America, but around the fucking world. And we can watch it if you want to watch it. There's short clips. I just wanted to see your like thoughts behind this. I know you like to read the comments. We can read some of the comments too. I haven't read the comments.
I mean, that's not surprising, but I mean, I wouldn't call that anti-Semitic. I mean, did you use the wrong word?
No. Which one? For which one?
You would consider this anti-Semitic?
For which one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sharing the.
No, not this one.
Okay, because I'm just like, what?
Not this one.
Okay.
Not this one. No.
Like, I mean,
people will see this. People will use this and be like, "Oh, this is so anti-fucking Semitic. Like, why are they not shaving? Why are they not shaking? There's such thing as sportsman-like. You know what I mean?"
Yeah, but in a rational world, like that country wouldn't even be there. They wouldn't be able to participate in games. They wouldn't be at the Olympics and stuff like that. And I mean, they had a hard time at the Olympics too because, like, when your government is committing those atrocities, like, like we're not going to support you. You know.
Yeah. Read the comments. I'm interested to see the comments. But another thing, while we're reading those, Spain, who is one of the favorites to win the World Cup, has threatened that if Israel is allowed to participate, they will back out. That's a huge deal. They're favorites to win.
Right. So that would just basically ruin like the entertainment factor.
Yes. A lot of people.
Well, hopefully they go. I mean, people are just supportive, pretty much.
Yeah, except for that one guy where it's like football is for everyone. A video just dropped today where the football captain for the Israeli national team was seen lobbing grenades at houses in Lebanon.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
So-
not for fuck. It is fucking
Right,
political.
so it's not even
These are
like,
literal
oh,
IDF
these people can't help it. Yeah, well, exactly. Like,
These are literal IDF soldiers. This one, I was saying, is a lot more anti.
I've been here for years. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. He's born here. Get out of here. When they call the cops, you came, the cops came, they did nothing. Get out of here. Yo, oh yeah. I don't know if you know this guy's trying to scam. We're not playing over here. We're not playing. We don't give a fuck about that little fake ass hat. We're not this fucking hat off. We're not playing. You heard me? We not playing. I'm trying to play. I'm trying to get him the fuck out of here before he gets himself hurt out here. You heard? We don't give a fuck about that hat. You heard? We don't give a fuck about that hat. We'll knock his fucking head off. These guys are trying to scam my boy out his property. Look, it's the second time he came around. Trying to get him. Trying to scam.
I mean, I don't feel like I understand what's happening there, but
So like he's trying to evict him out of the house or inspect the house when the cops already came in. Like they inspected everything and there's nothing wrong. I don't know obviously the history of this thing.
is
but
this like a thing that people like? People are saying it's a scam. Like, is this a common thing where?
There are things that can happen like that. But listen, of course, there's gonna be comments that are like extremely fucking anti-Semitic on this. But like when you know, the reason I wanted to talk about this is like when somebody talks like when is somebody saying shit like this, they're not fucking being anti-Semitics. And like they use this thing, right? Like it doesn't fucking matter who's trying to fucking take over the house. Like the person is obviously justifiably gonna be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
not
I mean,
anti-fucking Semitic.
If he, right? I mean, I don't see what that has anything to like do with it. If he is like not the actual landlord of this property and he's coming in, then he's doing fucked up shit. You know, like
Right.
It's
so when he like when the person that's recording is saying something about the Jewish fucking person, he's not fucking being anti-Semitic. He's just fucking being pissed.
oh, like the hat comments.
Yeah. Like the hat comments or whatever, like the comments he's fucking making. He's being pissed.
Yeah.
But when somebody like me and you, when somebody listens to this, right, and then somebody goes like, "Oh, yo, that dude is being fucking anti-Semitic," you sit there and you go like, "Nah, I don't think so. I don't fucking think so." He's just he's just fucking pissed that the dude is fucking trying to do some funny stuff. Like it's not anti-Semitic, but like, but this is what the Democratic Party, right? That's how you took it, right? Like that's how normal people take it. But like my point is fucking bigger, and my point was to like the Hassan comments and like what they do to the leftists and like the whole thing. The Democratic Party will coalesce around shit like this and be like, Hassan's being, anti-Semitic. No, he's fucking not. When like a normal average, like a fucking normal Andy, like reads anything or hears anything Hassan's saying or sees anything like this and then somebody's like tisking at them like, oh, you're being anti-Semitic by supporting that guy or by watching that guy or like even like listening to us talk about this, they'll go, I don't think so. Like he's fucking saying the things that I fucking believe. Like if that guy's anti-Semitic, I must be fucking anti-Semitic. But like I just don't want children in fucking Gaza to be bombed. Like
yeah, I mean with Hassan, I think
kinda
it's
little
mostly
crazy.
just like it's the problem of the conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
Right.
I mean it's just kind of cut and dry like that. Like. And this, I guess I would say that was an insensitive comment, but I'm like, if he wanted to be anti-Semitic, there's like,
you can fucking say it, right?
You know, like I don't know, like I mean, it's not really for me to decide what is and isn't anti-Semitic, except for, again, the conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, because those are two wildly different things, and the Democratic Party needs to stop propagating the idea that they are one and the same.
But the fact is too is like they will infinitely punch harder toward their left than they will ever to somebody that is actually being anti-Semitic. And like
Yeah,
we've said it,
that's ultimately the problem.
like we've said it so many times, is like when you suppress anti-Zionist voices, you're raising actual anti-Semitic voices that much fucking louder. Nobody fucking knows who Nick Fuentes is unless you're like fucking in the political circles, right? But when you completely equate Hassan Piker to Nick Fuentes, everybody fucking that knows about Hassan Piker go like, who the fuck is Nick Fuentes? Like, let me just fucking look at him a
Yeah,
little
they're
bit.
gonna go
You know
look
what I
it
mean?
up, and then
And then they're gonna read it, like they're gonna
Nick
hear some
Fuentes
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna hear some shit that fucking Nick Fuentes is saying. Hey, he's funny. Now you just made Nick Fuentes more fucking famous because now you made him up fucking a household fucking name.
The last thing these streamers on the right need is more like they're
More
already like
publicity.
10 times more popular than anybody on the left, you know?
Anybody on the left. So like then they'll like listen to Nick Fuentes and he'll say something like clearly fucking anti-Semitic, but with a veil of anti-Zionism or something, and in a funny fucking way. And then they'll sit there like, I was kind of funny. Maybe I should listen to this fucking guy more. And now you have a fucking whole population that is listening to fucking Nick Fuentes.
I mean, we literally
Well, you're
it's so
suppressing
frustrating.
Hassan Piker.
Hand an excuse to be just even nastier towards Jewish people than they always have been. You know, because they're gonna say, well, look, I mean, we saw that we didn't get to talk about it, but we saw that in the Manosphere documentary. Like right at the very end, they decided like that guy was like, well, you know, do you agree that Israel is committing a genocide or whatever? It's like, you don't give a fuck about Gaza. Like, shut up. Like, you don't know anything about that country. You're just using this as like a gotcha to support your own anti-Semitism, which you probably also don't actually believe in. It's just something that gets you more views.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Like it's grift.
Yeah.
It's a grift.
That at the end, I mean, it also pissed me off that they decided to end it on that because it's like, well, now you kind of took away from the whole message of the rest of the documentary and you made it like a pro-Israel thing. Like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But it wasn't a bad. It was. I don't know. I don't want to say it was a good documentary, but I don't want to say it was a bad one either. Like
I
it was
don't feel like I didn't learn anything.
I didn't. Right. Like I knew, but
I
don't think
all
it was
of
meant
this
for
already.
us though.
No, it's meant for people who haven't. I mean, like I watched it with Jay, and Jay was like, "Oh my god, these people are like." He doesn't really.
He doesn't get involved.
He's not a social media person. Like he doesn't really use social media.
But is he
much.
political?
No, not really.
Yeah,
like not. I mean, he follows like economic stuff and like tech stuff, but he's not getting into the nitty gritty of like.
Yeah.
He doesn't like if I said like, oh, this was on like Hassan today, he'd be like, who's that?
Who the fuck is Hassan? Right, like a normal fucking human being. He's a normal fucking human being.
Yeah. So we've watched like the Majority Report together and stuff like that, but he doesn't know their names, you know.
Yeah.
And
He
it's
can
really
listen
just
to it and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like that makes sense. Like that, I understand that. Like he'll listen to them and go like that. Yeah, like a normal fucking human being.
It's actually funny because he's like whenever we've watched it, he's been like to Sam, he's like he needs to just let her talk. Like, can you just let her talk?
You would say the same thing here, huh? You would say the same thing here.
I mean, probably, but okay.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I
don't know if there was
Sam stutters so much and just like doesn't get his point out, and then like interrupts Emma just to stutter. And it's like, can you just fucking? But that's besides the point. Sorry, now I'm just complaining.
But Emma's been doing a lot. She's been doing her own thing too. So
she's been everywhere. I'm like, are you trying to run for something? Like, what are you doing?
I would love that.
I would love
they're in
that.
New York. They're in New York, so.
Where's she from? Like technically, like
I don't know where she's from. I don't know where she's from.
Now we're just yapping. So
yeah. We can call it. We can call it here. That's fine. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else that we really wanted to talk about. Did we miss anything? What was in our title? Dems low rating, Tucker's rises.
Yeah,
we kind of hit everything.
We got it.
We kind of hit everything. All right. Okay. Hopefully I'll be fully good to go and feel better by the end of this fucking weekend. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, you've been sick for a while. It seems like.
Yeah, almost like this will be almost 2 weeks. Yeah, Yeah, today I think is 2 weeks. But yeah, I want to kind of, so like how he was explaining how the Cuban government system worked is kind of what I want to do for like every
The
single
channel,
fucking country.
or
Yeah. So
your channel,
I think it'd be interesting.
the TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'd be interesting to do because I don't think a lot of people know. Like, I didn't know how the Cuban system fucking worked, so I think it'd be good for me to like learn how like every country works. I basically know how like Iran works, Canada works, India works, and China works, and U.S. obviously. So I'd be interested to see if like there's other countries that like, well, like South Korea and like fucking UK, they're the same as the U.S. Like they're the same. They're all designed by us. Um, but it'd be interesting to see, like, how the rest of the world works, chooses to govern, if there's anything interesting. But yes, I think we can call it here.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll be back next week. We didn't talk about Iran, but there's a lot of interesting things happening there, so maybe we'll cover some of that next week, and we'll take it from there. Thank you. Have a good night.